You're unmuted.
All right, if I could, I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Benzie County Commissioners for August 12th. And let's do roll call, please.
Davis,
He's on his way.
Janat,
Here.
Markey,
Here.
Nye,
Here.
Roloff,
Here.
Sauer,
Here.
Craig.
Here.
Gary, if you would, please.
Bow your heads. Gracious God, as we come before you today to discuss important matters, we ask guidance and wisdom. Help us to focus on our community and be thankful for all our blessings. In our name I pray.
Ma'am. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You had in advance of the meeting a copy of the agenda, and I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda or any other changes you want to speak of.
Motion to approve as presented.
9 seconds.
Any other conversation? Hearing none? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approval and/or corrections of the minutes from July 22nd.
Commissioner Nye had pointed out one of the words in Annie's statement under the public comment. Wow.
So there is a grammatical change.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? If not, I'd entertain a motion, please.
Make the motion to approve as corrected, I guess.
Gary,
Markey will
support. Markey, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. We're at the first public comment regarding items on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and open up the public hearing.
Hi, everyone. I am Tish Stave. I'm with the Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. I'll wait a second for Katie to, there we go. And I'm here today to hold some opportunity for public comment on the Community Development Block Grant Home Repair Funding that we administer on behalf of the county. So a little background and overview. Benzie County administers Community Development Block Grant funds for home repairs. Through our agency, we assist low to moderate income homeowners with emergency repairs. And these are done as a grant if the repairs are up to $2,500, and it is a 0%, no interest loan that is paid back at the title change if it is over $2,500. This is a federally funded program, and right there is a bullet point that gives the act and some of the regulations that dictate how the funds are spent. So the way that the funding is handled for this program is it is all run through repaid loans that were formally granted or loaned out. And Benzie County tracks the payments and the interest that is collected on the account that the payments are held in. And then the money that is gathered in 1 year is what is spent the next year. If the income that is collected, and it's between July 1st of a year to June 30th of the next, if it is $35,000 or above, they're considered federal funds, and they must be used on CDBG eligible activities. If it's below that $35,000 threshold, then it is up to the county what to do with that funding. Next, so the dates here are wrong. I noticed on my way in. Repurpose slide, that's the danger. So for this year, we collected, or the county collected funds from July 1st of 2024 to June 30th of this year, and it did meet that threshold, just over $36,104.00. We are proposing to use these funds on homeowner rehab projects as defined by the policy guidelines. What constitutes as an emergency, it's usually if it's an immediate health concern, health and safety of the home. funding would be used countywide in Benzie County, to income eligible homeowners that have gross incomes at 80% AMI or less. And I put an example up there, household of four, that is 76,550 annually. Headline. Funding will benefit residents of area, and none of the projects that we do will require anyone. Here is the high level overview of the program guidelines for the funds. All projects, as I stated, must be in Benzie County. They must meet the definition of an emergency, and the units, the houses, have to be owner occupied, somebody's principal residence. They have to have been there for at least a year. So you can't move in and then get these repairs. They must be insured. There's a caveat there. They have to have homeowners insurance or verification from their insurance company saying that they need a repair to happen to be insured. So often that's like a roof. So if we have that, we can move forward. And property tax also owners must be eligible. We do all the verification at NFCAA. And then we gather at least 2 estimates or bids from licensed and insured contractors. Examples of some of the eligible repairs, as I said earlier, they have to be health and safety concerns. I would say the major one that we do is roof repairs, replacement. We do a lot of well and septic also, furnaces, water heaters, some minor plumbing repairs or electrical. Here are some examples of the past 3 years, the different projects that we've been able to do in Benzie County. And something to note about this, because $36,000 does not seem like that much money. It doesn't seem like it would go very far with home repairs, especially. But we often match funds with other NMCAA programs, such as we have some funding through the Cherryland Electric Co-op to help with their members' repairs. We also have some revolving loan funds in-house through the HPP or Housing Preservation Grant. We also run the Weatherization Assistance Program through the Department of Energy. So sometimes we couple funds from these other programs. That is the program in a nutshell. So opening it up for any questions or comments.
So if my roof fails and I'm at that medium income and I reach all these criteria, how am I aware of your program?
So we do that's a great question, a lot of outreach through social media. We do press releases. We work with a lot of different, we've been in the communities for 50+ years. So we have a lot of partners at other agencies, THS, Bacon, senior resources. So we get a lot of referrals that way. But honestly, we do surveys of everybody that we serve. And the biggest is always word of mouth.
Okay.
Christie, did you have a question?
So you say that you usually do matching funds, and so and if the house needs to be insured, does the insurance take care of some of that, and then you help with some of the rest, or how does that work? That the insurance isn't handling some of that, and you are. I mean, we've done some roofs. How does that? What does that look
So
like?
we haven't paired with insurance for.
Okay.
Sure, that would be, if that came to play, I would just consult with to make sure that we were following all the guidelines. But yeah, usually it's our funding through this program and then some in-house funding, but we've also had homeowners put up some matching at times.
Okay.
And usually that's like if there was a repair that's maybe just a little bit over that 2,500 threshold and they didn't want to put a lien on the property, they would kick in some to keep it under that threshold. So
These monies have been available since the 80s. Do you remember, when did the county begin contracting with the Action Agency to underwrite the programs?
that up and I couldn't find it. I'm sure we've got it in our records, but I mean, at least 2 decades. That's been a
Okay.
while.
We used, just for the benefit of the board, we used to have a housing commission or committee, not commission. And they would underwrite or qualify someone, and then they would come back to the housing committee. And there wasn't enough activity that we then, if Bob will remember, under his leadership, we brought it to the board. You guys have done a great job in underwriting it, because being in compliance is key. Otherwise, they can ask for that money back if we're not in compliance. Do you know that that fund continues to be replenished as we get repayments? Do you happen to know how much we have in receivables approximately?
Oh gosh, I just looked at a statement yesterday. Tammy, do you?
700.
700 and
It's a little over
some
seven
thousand.
hundred
That's
thousand.
what it was, yeah, like 760 was the last
Yeah.
figure I saw.
So this program, like we got about a $35,000 payoff this year. We wouldn't have known it was coming. So it's hard to predict at how much we're gonna have each year.
Yeah.
What we're talking about today, just for clarification, is that there's a recommendation to take all of the money that's available and put it back into the fund so that it continues to be available to the community. With the exception to that is Katie, isn't there about $15,000 that the county advanced that needs to be repaid?
There is, however, because these funds are federally regulated, Tammy, Kelly, and I are gonna sit down with Tish hopefully next week and kind of talk through that. Because these funds are federally regulated, and if we don't spend all these funds in those programs, we have to send them back. So, we have to make a recommendation to you as to how to pay back that 15-ish thousand to the county itself. Because these funds cannot be utilized by that because of the federal restriction that is put on them because it was over the 35,000.
Okay, all right. Any other questions, comments for Tish? Gary?
You have a $2,500 minimum or whatever. I'm totally lost on that one. Does that first $2,500 not have to be repaid?
So if the repair is $2,500 or below, it is completely a grant and they don't have to, never repaid. But if you go over that, then the entire amount becomes a lien on the property.
Okay.
So that is something I didn't say earlier that brings up a good point, is that the homeowner also has to own the land. So, because the lien is placed on the property if it's over $2,500. So unfortunately, if someone like lives in a trailer park and they're renting the land, they wouldn't be eligible because we can't put a lien on the property.
Other questions or comments? If not, there's a recommendation for a motion in front of you.
Because this is a public hearing, you should offer the comments to the public as well, in
Thank you.
addition to the board.
All right, let's open it up then to public comments. We'll close the public.
Oh, Bridget Scott,
Oh, go.
come on up,
To
Bridget.
the
Yes.
microphone, please.
Bridget Hassig with Benzie Senior Resources. I was just going to add in my comments with department head updates that we have a senior essential needs fund that is provided because of the millage support from the residents. And we usually use those type of things we're finding now for things like home repairs and roofing and wells going down, but it's not enough. So I just wanted to add us as one of the resources that we can work together in collaboration if there's a amount that's over $2,500 or use these funds first and then go to the millage fund. So I just wanted to add that as a partner. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? We'll close the public comment period. And Katie, is there any other protocol I need to follow?
No.
If not, I'd entertain a motion that's presented in front of you in your packet.
Trigg
Oh.
moves that the Board of Commissioners certifies the fiscal year 2024 program income for the Benzie County Community Development Block Grant and adopts the related program guidelines.
Hour seconds.
And any questions or comments? Believe we have to do that in roll call, please.
Not
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloffs.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Trigg,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right. Just,
I'm gonna set flyers in case anyone is interested in the back, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
thanks for being here today. We appreciate what your agency provides us. All right, let's move into elected officials and department head updates. Would anybody like to step up?
I will go for the hobble up. Good morning. I am Greg Keepers. I'm the undersheriff of the County Sheriff's Office. A little report on some recent happenings. Currently in the jail, we have 25 inmates, 7 of which are from Grand Traverse. Sergeant Simmons did a great job last week reaching out to Grand Traverse and said, hey, where are the inmates? That is a great source of income for us, and we only had 1 sitting there. And he went and got a hold of them, and the next thing you know, we had 7 come in over the weekend. So strong encouragement to them, and that we had more inmates. So we're sitting at 25. Things in the jail are going as well as they can, and I'm going to address that in a minute here. We had a very tragic weekend. Welcome to August again. August seems to be our month for that, but we had a very tragic weekend. And our people on the road went through some pretty serious mental health things. We've offered assistance, some are seeking it. Katie reached out to me over the weekend. Some have taken that mental health. We had a fatal crash with a 3-year-old that died as a result of the crash. We had a drowning up in Lake Ann, and we had a very serious felonious assault in another incident at a hotel with one of our local people being a victim of a really bad assault with a broken jaw and some other things. The 2 incidents, the fatal crash and the broken jaw, all happened within about an hour of each other. So we were scrambling to send people to all incidents, and MSP jumped in and helped out as soon as they could, and ended up sending 4 cars over to help us out. The second incident, as far as the jail goes, I think I needed to clear up some things as far as the jail and the jail administrator hours. I tracked, after meeting with Art, I tracked some hours the best that I could. The jail sergeants that are working, that we're paying 50 cents an hour to do jail administrator duties, I tracked their hours from when they started around February 15th for a 6-month period. And their total hours was 404.5 hours. I have not been tracking my jail administrator hours, the hours that I spent. So I sat down with the sheriff and with Brenda Miller-Goki, and we came up with a rough estimate. I will continue to start tracking those hours so we know how many hours they spend on that. But it was roughly 300, very conservatively, 375 hours that I spent on jail administrator duty. And I'm more than willing to do that, and I will continue to do that as long as I am here. But I'm not the guy for that job. I've never worked in a jail. I've worked 1 4-hour shift in that jail when they were shorthanded, and I don't know the inner working. I am making decisions on things and learning them at the same time. And that's not what we need in a jail administrator. It is also shortening my career, my time here. We are at a point that it is too much, and it will certainly shorten my longevity here at the sheriff's office. We currently lost a jail sergeant to the county administrator's office. A big percent of the stress that she was under up there, the result of this. She was one of the people that was one of the acting jail administrators and filling in those hours. I'm not saying it's all of the stress that she was under, but a large percentage of it, and she left. This is going to continue to happen. I contacted MMRMA and Tom Cromartie. Tom assured me that I would have a letter to present to you today, and I don't have one. But Thomas assured me over the phone that MMRMA, at least he, as the jail rep for MMRMA, strongly supports a jail administrator. And he said, it's silly that I'm running it. He knows my background and my history. Michigan counties. We have 83 Michigan counties. We have 83 sheriffs in 83 Michigan counties because they're mandated. We have 83 undersheriffs because they're mandated. Michigan full-time operating jails. Out of those 83, we have 75 counties that have fully functional jails, not a booking area to hold people for one day, but fully functioning jails. 5 of those have an undersheriff jail administrator combination. Of those 5, 3 have a fully operational jail where the undersheriff is the jail administrator, 2, 1 in the Upper Peninsula, 2 in the Lower Peninsula, Presque Isle and Benzie County. Those are the 2 in Michigan. I have the undersheriff that is also the jail administrator with a full-time jail. We reached out to every sheriff or undersheriff that I could get a hold of. They have a pretty good network. Some were gone, some were on vacation, but that's the best number. It may change one or two either way, but that's the best number the sheriff and I could come up with on that. There's a reason for that we don't have very many in the two counties in the Lower Peninsula. I have a fully functioning jail at Presque Isle and Benzie. Presque Isle is its own little county. And it has some very unique things. They have some emergency manager woes. I believe they had an emergency manager who was the chairman, Rebecca, you here? That was the chairman because they didn't want to pay for an emergency manager. And that was cool until they had an ice storm, right? And then they were crying for somebody to come help on a temporary basis as the emergency manager because they realized that the chairman of the board couldn't handle those situations. Are they two different things? Yes, but I think you can understand how serious the situation is. I will do it as long as I'm here. I promise you that. And I will continue to do it, but I think it's something we really have to look at, consider. If you add up those hours between Sergeant Simmons and Sergeant Pike, who we just lost, and my hours and multiply that by 2, it's more than a full-time person. Yes, you're getting off very cheap, because it's 50 cents an hour for them to do those duties, and essentially it's free for me. But cheap isn't always the best way. And we're not going to find that out until something really bad happens. Then I will fully accept that blame, and probably tender my resignation, because the point just hasn't been made. I will fully accept the blame because technically my job was jail administrator at the time something bad happened, and I will accept that responsibility. But I beg you to take a really good look at this before something bad does happen, because the last thing I want to do, truly, honestly, from heart to heart, to all of you is stand here and go, I told you so. I don't want that to happen. But like I said, at that point, it'll be my jail and I will take full responsibility. Thank you. Any
Great.
questions?
Yes, is there questions for Undersheriff? So this is something we've discussed, pretty thoroughly. We've discussed it publicly and privately. Talk to us for a moment, if you would, about the people that are acting as jail administrator during a portion of their shift, I guess. What is it that they're doing and what isn't getting done?
Most of what is not getting done, let's start with that, is on my end. And it is policy and procedure. One of the goals I make for myself each year, I make goals for myself, is to update our policy and procedure, which badly needs it. I have policy and procedure from Sheriff Blank, and before. That deals with things about which keys you broke on the typewriter and not the computer. That's just an analogy, but those are policies and procedures that we're trying to update. Probably the biggest one that needs to be updated to keep us from being sued is the pursuit policy. A typical pursuit policy runs about 100 pages. It has to be reviewed over and over and over by legal and by those that are out doing the pursuits and by supervision. And ours is very updated. Right now, our pursuit policy basically says you can run them until it's done. And we have to change that. We have to change that to protect ourselves from civil liability. The sergeants, they're probably doing most of their jail administrator duties, which include the scheduling, dealing with vendors for cameras, dealing with vendors for food, dealing with vendors for whatever else. And instead of watching those cameras and watching the inmates, they're doing jail administrator duty at the computer while they're supposed to be closing doors and watching. Yeah.
So with respect to the policies, what I heard you say is it's not necessarily about the policies for the jail, but it's the policies for the sheriff's office. in general.
Sheriff's office as a whole, both the jail and the road, they're
Yeah.
both badly, bad need of help.
And, without getting into detail, what kind of risk are we at when you talk about something bad happening? I mean, what kind of risk are we talking about?
Mostly a death within the jail. And if a death within the jail occurs and we look back at the cameras and a sergeant was on the computer working on jail administrator duties, we're gonna hear about that. If our policies and procedures aren't updated and our current, we have to go by whatever our current policy is, and our current policy says that you can chase them until it's over, no matter how it ends, for whatever crime. Well, then that's on me for not updating that policy.
Right. Any other comments or questions for the undersheriff? Thanks for the information.
Good morning. So everyone here did not participate in skydiving yesterday. Where were you?
Would you identify yourself for the
Oh,
record,
yes.
please?
Brook Pop Airport, Frankfurt Dow Airport.
Thank you.
So we had a skydiving event. It was in collaboration with the Alberta Beach Improvement Celebration. Unfortunately, the weather didn't cooperate, but we still had 11 jumpers out of over 20 that signed up. So very positive. The company loved our airport and we're hoping to do more events in the future. Very good day. A lot of people had a great time. Let's see, hangar electrical meter consolidation. This has been going on for about a year and consumers just finished their part of the process. We've received their $3,200 bill. There were some unforeseen things. We didn't have long enough wires, et cetera. They had to come up with a new plan. So that's where we're at. We've received their bill and we're hoping to move forward very, very quickly at this point to get the meters consolidated. Once we do that, we will start saving approximately $4,000 a year in electrical fees. And FAA obstruction removal. So we are assessed periodically. And in June of 2023, MDOT came out, they did a LiDAR survey. They determined what obstructions or trees we have. And so to maintain a safe environment on the ground and in the sky, we are going to begin tree removal October of this year. Everyone's probably aware of the Pines Assisted Living. We're going to start there and remove their trees as dictated. And then we're going to move to some other properties in the area too. The airport has 5 acres that is on 115. That's going to be cleared. That's behind the dentist office and the fitness center there. So you'll see that and then some other trimmings around the area too. So once that happens, we're hoping that the FAA will recognize that we are moving towards removing the provisional status of our license. So an upcoming project that we're working on here. Oh, we meet with MDOT. It's our annual meeting with them. We're going to discuss where we are, where we're going. Basically, the grants that we have currently and for the next couple of years coming in will go towards paying off that bond that was used for the consent judgment. We are going to, so now that once we remove the obstacles at each end of the runway, we're going to have it evaluated and possibly display thresholds removed. So at the end of each runway is areas that cannot be used for landing because of the obstructions. So they're going to reevaluate and modify those. So then, of course, we'll have crack sealing and then some runway marking and things to do at that point. And we've also been told we have to improve some of our taxiway asphalt, which is apparent because I'm currently mowing it. It's got so much grass and whatnot growing through it. So, and then I just put a little blurb about Michigan tourism and what it means to us. And actually, from what I'm hearing around the area, tourism is somewhat down, about 30 to 40%. So I kind of threw some numbers in there, and surprisingly, we did sell more fuel this July. We were up 20%, but still, like for June and July for operations, we're down 35 to 40. So it's affecting us all. Yeah.
Is that measurement by units or dollars?
Units. Yep, by gallons sold and by operations, so people coming and going.
Questions for Brooke? Please.
Brooke,
Aye.
so the property that the airport owns is surrounded by private property.
Correct.
So when you have trees that are tall on private property that's adjacent to
Mhm.
your land, do you have any way to
Yes.
Leverage.
meet your goals for a clear pathway? I mean, it seems like
Yes.
those things would.
So where we're at, on the map, the parcels surrounding us have air easements on them. We cannot do anything on a piece of property that does not have an easement, but for the properties that do around us, I have contacted and I've met personally with. So we're coming up with a plan to how to go about it. Some trees are going to be removed entirely, stumps removed, grass put in. Others are just going to be stumped. If they're in a more of a rough area, the stumps will be left. But it's kind of it's very unique for each property. Yeah, very individual.
Anything else? Christie?
So I know that this is a bone of contention, you know, tree removal.
Mhm.
Is there any way that there could be an exception from MDOT? Is there any recourse other than?
We all
Cutting
recognize
trees,
that
can you?
trees are very important to people. We do. We understand that. But this comes from the FAA. So that when the FAA designed the airport, they designed what they call a runway protection zone at the end of each end there. So, and it's different zones. You know, immediately at the end, it's stricter as to what can be there, and it's for safety reasons. Their first priority is the people on the ground and property. So to do that, they want to remove as many obstructions in that area as possible. And then as the farther you go away, it changes. But no, unfortunately, yeah, we're a federally funded airport, so we have to go by their rules.
If
Yes,
you don't mind, have there been any fatalities at Frankfurt runway?
not while I was there.
That wasn't the question, dear.
So on the run, well, I know that there has been a few. We have a plaque on the wall for some that have happened quite some time ago. But the last accident that I remember was on Pelsick Road, and it was in my in-laws' front yard. And it was caught in the trees, and that was not a fatality, but yeah. Oh,
Curiosity.
okay.
Brooke, there's a couple of us, maybe more, that have had a contact by a concerned citizen that's close to this subject.
Mhm.
That suggested that the trees that you're gonna have to top, there might actually be an exception to that. How do you respond to that?
I don't know of an exception. And we prefer to not top just because it damages the tree in such a manner that it will eventually die. So, and when the FAA spends money on these projects, it's like a one and done. They don't go back. So then the responsibility becomes the homeowners, and we want to eliminate that. We don't want a burden on them. So I don't know of an exception to this.
And you talked about removal and leaving the stumps.
In
What-
some areas,
Why
it's
are you
feasible.
why are you leaving the stumps?
Cost. Quite plainly for cost.
Isn't it kind of unsightly?
It can be unless it is already a rough area. There's already trees around it. It depends upon the property. We only have one particular piece of property we're going to be doing that with. And it's basically for cost purposes, because if we could keep our costs low, we can do more trees. And that's what our goal is to do. But in this area, it is a woodland area, so it's not manicured in any fashion. So cutting it to the ground is acceptable to them, and they wish to keep the firewood.
So the property owner's okay with that?
Correct, they are.
And when you talked about this event from over the weekend,
Mhm.
does that generate revenue for you or just goodwill?
This was basically a feasibility study on our part and theirs. We weren't sure if there was going to be enough interest in people coming out to our airport and skydiving. So we did collaborate together. We didn't receive any income from it, but in the future, we'll do some negotiations.
And staying on that theme,
Yes,
And you and I have had this conversation more than once.
yes.
It's a very small percentage of our population that actually uses that facility. When you look at your cost structure and your revenue opportunity, are you looking for that opportunity to have it be cost neutral for the county, knowing that the majority of the people using that airport probably could afford to pay a total of another $45,000 a year to support the airport?
Our goal is to be self-sufficient. So that means no appropriations from the entities. So that would be the township, the city, and of course, the county. That is our ultimate goal. There are some things that we are mandated to do. I would like to see hangars. They have very low overhead and they bring in a lot of revenue. But I've been told that in order for the FAA to allow that, we're going to have to address our taxiways. We're going to have to put some money in the other infrastructure before they will invest further in us.
Take note, by the way, I just made a note that at this date, at this time, you said you're working towards being financially self-sufficient.
It's a goal I've had from day one. So we're working there.
Other questions or comments? Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Any other department heads or elected officials that would like to speak?
Morning, Megan Garza, Administrator at the Maples. Just a quick update. July numbers are in. Current employees are 153. Census ended at 99.2%. We had 12 admissions, 13 discharges, 84 referrals for the month of July. 33 of them were Benzie County residents. And also during July, we celebrated our 60th anniversary, which was a huge hit. We served about 200 people dinner, great band. All the residents were outside. It was a fun little evening.
I was trying to catch up with some of your staff. I did attend. It looked like it was well attended.
Yeah,
That food line just was constant.
it went on forever, but we had enough. I had a small little freak out about in the middle. I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna run out of food. But we had enough. Everyone had fun. It was a great turnout, but super good time. But Girl Scouts there,
Yes.
volunteering. There's kids running all over the place. We've learned to create a better life for our residents. We need more kids, animals, and plants. So we're introducing more plants to the facility too. But yeah.
Very good. Yeah, you've brought some really good news to us over the last few months. Thank you. Questions or comments, Megan? Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Any other department heads or elected officials? If not, let's move on to paying the bills. Edie, are you representing that this morning?
Yes, Kelly's at a conference today, so today we're looking for approval of the bills in the amount of $264,313.70, and I balanced first time. I was feeling good about those ones.
Mark, you'll move that we pay the bills in the amount of $264,313.70.
Support.
Questions or comments? Hearing none? Okay.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloff.
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
motion carried.
Very good. Any other comments from the treasurer that you want to share with us?
No.
Presentations, why don't I ask you to introduce that?
Yes, so today Sarah May is in the audience and she's going to present today a report on the use of the opioid funding that the board allocated to the Bay Area Youth Project. She, I believe, has some handouts that I'll pass out for you. So she'll go over how the funds were spent, and then if you guys have any follow-up questions for Sarah, she'll be happy to answer them.
Good morning. It's wonderful to be here. I'm Sarah May with the Benzie Area Youth Initiative, and I just wanted to, like Katie said, follow up with you about the opioid settlement grant funds that we were allocated back in April. So if you remember back in April, the county commissioners approved a grant for $14,448. That was mainly to do three things. Support prevention speaker coming into both schools, both Frankfurt and Benzie Central, as well as some training, funding for training, and then finally for safe medication disposal. So I'm happy to report that we have almost completed all those things. We have a few more tasks to do, but we're well on our way to having all those done, I believe, in the next couple months. So I wanted to just give you an overview of what we've done on those three things and then answer any questions that you still have. So first of all, our prevention speaker. So this was a group that's called Straight Talk. They came in April, the end of April, to both Frankfurt High School as well as Benzie Central. They presented to all students 6th through 12th grade. So I think that was really key that we had both the middle school and the high school students there for the event, because it is quite expensive to bring in a speaker. So it was wonderful to have all those students there be able to participate in it. Straight Talk is unique because it is a story of addiction and recovery from a mother's perspective as well as the son. And so I think that really was a great way for students to see how actions affect the entire family. The mom shared her story of how she wanted to try to fix the problem and how that didn't work. And then the son was very open and honest with his addiction story and recovery. And he could highlight issues that he had with marijuana, heroin, and alcohol. So it's a really good comprehensive about all different substances. And what was fun about it, unlike a lot of other speakers, is they had music. And so they actually performed music throughout it. So it felt more like a concert. And then they broke it up with the songs and told the stories in between the songs. So it was high energy for the students. They left with a really hopeful message at the end, really grabbed their attention throughout with having, you know, fog machines and the music and that kind of thing. So I heard very positive from both teachers, counselors, principals, as well as the students themselves. They also did a pre and post survey of the students. So that was great information to find out what did they actually learn from the presentation. And then I think it was just a great launching point to see how can we follow up with it and what can we do to help better support the students. So one thing that came out of the presentation was the school nurse at Frankfurt felt that it was very important to address the 12th graders and give them some more information about alcohol and underage drinking. And so she teamed up with myself as well as a school resource officer, and we presented information on alcohol to all the 12th graders. It was surprising to see how many really didn't quite understand what binge drinking is and some other questions that they had. It was great for us to be able to answer those questions to those students. Any questions about the prevention speaker? Yes.
I think as a parent of a child at Frankfurt Elementary, Frankfurt, I think we also, I think from your Bay Area Youth Initiative, we were also given a YouTube video, I believe, to look at too, as parents, I think.
From the speaker or from?
Was it
You
regarding?
mean the screenagers? Are you talking about the screenagers?
Screenagers, yes. I apologize, yes.
Okay.
We were also given, yes, the
Yes.
Screenager YouTube video. I don't know if that was part of this, but I thought that was great.
Wonderful. Yeah, that was part of the Benzie Area Youth Initiative, not funded through the opioid settlement fund,
my
so from a
apologies.
different grant.
Okay.
But what it was is Screenagers Elementary Age Edition really helps give parents tools of how to navigate all those difficult kind of mental health and tech questions, like when to give your kid a smartphone and just a better understanding of that. So I'm glad that was helpful for you.
I just remember it was Bay Area Youth Initiative. I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's great. So the second thing we did also in April was 6 of us attended the Stanford Reach Lab Teaching Cannabis and Education and Awareness Conference that was held virtually. So it only cost $150 per participant. I was hoping to have 8 participants, but we did have 6. Myself, 3 school nurses, as well as a high school health teacher, and as well as one of our school resource officers. So what was great about that virtual conference is you didn't have to attend the sessions live, but you got access to the portal that had over 70 sessions ranging from all different substances and just great information, all research-based, evidence-based. And so the response I heard from the people who attended is that they just gained a lot of knowledge. They knew where to access resources. Stanford Reach Lab also launched a new curriculum that is about fentanyl, overdose, and opioids, and that is free and available for anyone to use. So that was just great information to have that better training and access to all those great resources. And then finally, the safe medication disposal. So this is one of our goals is we want to reduce the amount of unused prescription drugs that are in people's homes. We know that is what teens and other people are most likely to start with misusing prescription drugs if they're in the household. And so one of our initiatives, and it just arrived, or I just picked them up today, Katie purchased 300 of these Datira bags. What they are their bags that people can put their unused prescriptions into them. It has a chemical that helps deactivate the drug. And so then it is safe to dispose of at your own personal house. And so that way it will get that out of the household and it makes it easy for everybody involved. So I have teamed up with Benzie Senior Resources. We'll be receiving these to distribute, as well as the health department, as well as Northwest Michigan Health Services. And just the other day, one of the community health workers said they had that request from patients of, can I just drop these off here? And they explained, no, while there are places in the county you can drop them off, this really makes it easy for people to just dispose of them, in their household. I'm also going to reach out to Central Wellness, Bacon, as well as local funeral homes. That can be a great connection for people who maybe have just lost a loved one or, want to make sure those prescription drugs are out of the household. So once those are completely distributed, I'll be finished with that part of the project. And that leaves one main training to still go, and that is called the NOT training, which is the Not on Tobacco, that trains school staff to be able to run a vaping cessation program. That has been a top goal and priority of the schools. So I'm just waiting for the school staff to get back in session and then hopefully have 3 of those people trained in that program this fall. Any questions you have, I'd be happy to answer.
Sure.
I would just say that one of the conditions of granting these monies to you and others is feedback like this. And I just want to give you credit for an excellent presentation. This is the kind of feedback we're looking for, and I think it's important. So well done.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and if any of you want the full summary that I got from Straight Talk, it is very, very long, lots of pages, but it is fun to read, especially the open-ended kind of comments that the students gave. So I'd be happy to share that with you as well if you'd like.
Appreciate you saying that, Rhonda, because I know that echoes the full commission's opinion on that. Other comments or questions? Just a couple if I could then. And I really don't want to end this on a dark note at all. But Katie, I'm going to turn to you. We've had a lot of discussions about how the money is used. And we're talking about a vaping or nicotine prevention or cessation. Is that a qualifying event?
Well, it was more than just the vaping and the tobacco, and it was really all encompassing regarding, prevention and education against addictive substances. And so, yes, it was a qualifying event, as you could say.
I just don't want to get any criticism.
Correct.
So, and with the drug disposal, which I'm glad that you're going to do, and I'm glad you're reaching out to a lot of places, but I would touch base with hospice also. Hospice, once a patient is no longer under their care, they kind of walk away from it and leave the drugs at the house. So you may want to consider that. And Greg, is the sheriff still have a disposal center for prescription drugs? Okay. I appreciate you being here today.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
If we could, let's move into old business. Katie, I'm going to ask you to introduce, you know what, I'll take the first one. It's regarding committee assignments. You had in your packet in advance, committee assignments for the Board of Commissioners. Those of you that were affected, I spoke to you directly about that. I believe we needed to do a motion to approve those committee assignments.
I think the only one that I'm just noticing that maybe I missed, but I don't know if it was in your email. We had talked about buildings and grounds, putting Dave on there. But it still shows Gary.
That's not a mistake.
Okay, that was right.
After
Okay.
discussion with the affected commissioners, it was requested that three commissioners that are currently on that
Perfect.
wanted to stay on that.
Okay,
Dave and I have already spoken about that.
all right, that was the only one. Other than that, it should be as presented to me.
I did have a question.
Sure.
The Benzie Leelanau Health Department Board of Appeals, it
Mhm.
says roll-offs. I have served on that for several years. We only meet once every couple years
Yep.
when there's a zoning appeal for the, or not
Correct.
zoning appeal, when there's appeal for the health department.
Yep.
Didn't you and I?
Yeah,
Was
you
I-
did. You used
Last
to.
time we had anything, yeah, we.
Okay, I believe I'm assigned to that.
So no, so yes, you were. You definitely were. There was 3 commissioners. When the ordinance changed, that then took off 2 commissioners and made it at-large appointments. And so there's only 1 commissioner left, and we had left it as Bob at the beginning of the year. And then I've been advertising for at-large positions since then, and we've gotten no applications for that Board of Appeals. But with
Or
the
filling
ordinance,
seats when,
We're s-
with commissioners, when situations arise. that
yes,
need-
because we
okay.
haven't gotten anybody.
Okay, fair
Yep.
enough.
It's
Thank
still
you.
advertised, so if anybody in the community wants to serve.
Thanks for the question. Any other questions or comments?
If you don't mind, I do notice that the Domestic Violence Task Force has been removed, as far as committee appointments. It's still a standing committee within the county. But apparently it just doesn't have representation.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a reason for that. Katie, can you respond to that?
Yeah, so the Domestic Violence Task Force, it's a task force one. There isn't technically required members that have to be there. And because the substance of the committee is never able to be spoken about, the consensus was to remove it off the required list for a commissioner to attend as well as report on, because what is typically talked about isn't publicly available to be talked about.
And then,
Excuse me just a minute.
I'm sorry.
Nope.
Go ahead, Brenda.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So there's TBDs in the Benzie Transportation Authority and the Benzie County Road Commission. I would assume that Commissioner Sauer was the liaison for the Benzie Transportation Authority. And then I believe the Road Commission asked for an alternating commissioner. Did you want to address that?
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the road commission, if you remember, we sent a letter out to all the agencies, asked for their feedback. The ones that you see on here are the ones that came back to us and said, we would like you to reinstate those appointees. The road commission came back to us and said, yes, we would like to have someone once a month, not at every meeting, but once a month. And we'd like you to rotate them. And the purpose of rotating them is so they want all the commissioners, as many as they can, become familiar with them. And Rhonda, you're saving my bacon here. So what I need to do is find out which commissioners would like to get into that rotation.
I would like to.
Okay, so we've got Rhonda,
Do it.
Dave.
I'd like to be on there too, but that's probably why, because I was there all the time.
No, had nothing to do with you,
No.
Gary. Nothing to do with you.
I'll attend as well.
Tim? Okay. Christie, how about you?
Would like to, so it's Thursdays at 9:30 PM?
Yeah, but it'll be only
AM.
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 and it's twice a month. What Thursdays are there? Are they
Second, fourth.
second and fourth?
But we're only sending a commissioner once a month.
Once a
So
month.
with 6 of us,
We're only
They're
going
five
every
of us.
6 months.
right, so it'd be one meeting every
All right, put me
6
down.
months.
Bob, how
That's
about
a
you?
great idea to have as many of as you.
I will if it needs to be. It doesn't matter to me either way. I'm very familiar with what the road commission does, working there in the past. So, doesn't matter to me.
Well, I'm personally not going to because I think we got full representation. And I do talk with them periodically also.
So do I.
So, Rhonda, Dave, Gary, Tim and Christie. And what we'll do is I'll put a schedule out with the administration. And I realize you're gonna have to, I'm gonna ask you to manage your own calendar on this. But it's only gonna be twice a year, pretty much. Every once in a while, there'll be some overlap, but we'll get that calendar out. I'd like to start that again in September. If someone wants to go in August, it is an authorized meeting, so you could charge a per diem. But by the time we get the calendar out, I'm trying to be very sensitive to administration's time. She's working by herself right now. Rhonda and I sat down with Katie and we said, what is it that we have to do? And what is it that we can kind of push out? And I'm trying to push some stuff out. It may seem like, well, that'll only take a minute. Yeah, but if I got 10 of those activities, now I'm occupying a lot of time. So we'll start this in September. I only elaborated on it so you understood the delay. All right, Rhonda, thank you for bringing that up.
The only other thing that I'll note is, and we're going to come back to it later because I haven't had a chance to speak on and Art. Kelly Long indicated for the Land Bank Authority, she didn't see that it was necessary because Kelly comes to all of our meetings. However, their executive director then sent me a letter yesterday saying that she would like somebody. So we need to speak a little bit more about Land Bank and talk about that later.
Okay.
Because Kelly's not here, so I haven't been able to connect with her on why the change or why the conflicting opinion. So that one will come back later.
And
For
they don't even
discussion.
have any properties right now, do they?
They don't.
So we could put that out for another.
Yeah, it
agenda
can,
item.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments regarding the,
Yeah, I would just, for the land bank, well, 2 things. I want to be clear that Gary, you are the liaison for the Transportation Authority. Is that correct?
are you talking about for the busing
Yeah,
authority?
yeah, because it just says TBD,
Well-
TBD.
That's right. We have to have a discussion about that. Gary and I spoke about it. He never looked at it as a long-term assignment for him. So we'll be talking about who's best suited to go in that position, but not today.
Okay, and then the other clarification I wanted to make, the land bank does have inventory. It's not inventory that's going to be moved. They have some inventory that they will retain probably in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Because there isn't anything that they can do with it. And just because they don't have inventory, they do have situations going on. There was a home that they own. Remember, we spoke about the house that was merged with the land and then given for sale, and then things have to, so I just don't want to give the impression that there's absolutely nothing on the land bank's docket. And they are looking for other avenues to branch out into. So we can continue that conversation at a later date. I just didn't want to leave the impression that the land bank had no inventory and nothing to meet over. That's not the case.
So if you would please, in your capacity as vice chair, would you and Katie work together to bring a recommendation to the board and how we should proceed with the land bank?
Sure.
Yeah, I just think we need to sit down with Kelly because Kelly and the executive director have conflicting opinions. And so I wanted to clear that up before we brought it forward.
My only question on that would be, I am the liaison, or I was the liaison before it was indicated that they didn't need one. So is that appropriate for me to, are we comfortable with that?
I think it makes you even more suited
Okay.
to follow that discussion.
Okay, I just want to be clear that that was my committee that I attended.
I would, the chair has a right to waive what might look like a conflict. I don't see it as a conflict. You're the one of the commissioners, you'd be best suited to have that conversation.
Okay. Glad to do it.
Thank you. So remind me, do we need to take action on this committee assignment?
Mhm.
We
To
do that
approve
by
your
roll call?
recommendations. Yep.
Is any other questions or comments regarding the assignments? If not, let's take roll call, please.
Well, do you need a motion?
We need a
Oh, yeah,
motion.
let's get a motion.
A motion to accept the chair's recommendation for committee appointments.
Mark, you'll make that motion.
Davis a second.
All right. Again, any comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Nye? Yes. Roloffs?
Yes.
Sauer?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Janat?
Yes.
Markey?
Yes.
Motion carried.
We have an update with the Point Betsy Restoration Project.
So Chuck Clark, Ed Hookterp, Peter, who is with Bar Engineering, as well as Dustin with Walton Contracting are all in the audience today. They're going to give you an update as to kind of where things are at with Point Betsy. As you know, there was a request for proposals. We received a proposal at the county level. There's been various meetings and conversations that have happened since that proposal about what the project would look like and the cost and the timeline and all of those things. And so these fine gentlemen are here to really give you an update and to take your temperature as to what we're doing moving forward.
Ed Hookter, Chuck Clark and I are representing the Point Betsy Shoreline Protection System. And Peter and Dustin are also here to answer your questions. We'll give you a quick project update, but we're also asking today that you approve the conditional award of the contract, of the project contract to Walton Contracting. It's an important step because it designates the contractor that we want to deal with, and it gives us till the end of the year to continue raising funds and to finalize all the details for that. So we'd like it to have it on the record that this is where we're going, that Walton is our company, and that we'd like to go ahead with them. As far as some updates, Chuck, you want to just describe our meeting that we had?
Yes, so we had a very first-class presentation from Dustin Schroeder from Walton, the owner, and Katie attended that. Then we had a slideshow with provided a handout, which I've subsequently given to the neighbors, well, so they know what's going on. It was just first class. It was made, the sequence of events was all laid out. I was very impressed with how they're concerned about protecting the environment as far as the heavy trucks, the roads, and the sand and the water and so on. So very, very first class again. So we're impressed with them. We have a number of questions out of that deal, considering one option is changing the source of the rock for the revetment to the Alpena, entirely on the Alpena. And Peter Henk, our engineer from Bar, is working on that, and we're probably going to do some inspections of that rock as time goes on, but that we're not ready to make that decision yet. But that would save us some $365,000 if we all come out of Alpena, as opposed to some of it being barged over from Wisconsin. So again, a conditional approval today to move forward. It gives Walton some assurance that we're going in the direction and they can commit to next year's projects.
And a couple other small things that we've done. There were some questions in our last presentation about the administrative and some of the other costs and possible contingencies. We have come up with basic estimates that if the stone thing works as Chuck suggested, then the base contract would be somewhere around essentially $7 million. And we anticipate probably an additional 5% for contract oversight and management, which we assume we'll hire Bar to do, and another 5 to 7% budgeted for contingencies for just the things that come up. So that probably puts the total somewhere around $8,000, I wish, $8 million in ongoing costs for this, of which we think we have about $6 million in hand. So There's some serious fundraising still to be done. We're confident that the community will step forward, but never overconfident. And I think so. The stone thing, by the way, is important both for cutting the cost and it relieves a lot of the issues for the contractor, because instead of loading, unloading, they would load those directly at the quarry in Alpena, unload them at our staging site in M22 without having to barge them and take them off. And that would eliminate, if that happens, the use of the Alberta site for so that's approximately where we are. Dustin and Peter are here for any questions that we have. And again, what we're asking for you, what we're asking from you is authorizing the conditional award of the project with understanding that the final award will be done by the end of this year.
And just clarification on that staging. I'd had some discussions with Dick Taylor about putting a agreement together with the owner of the property at Point Betsy Road and 22. Is that what you're talking about for staging?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And
Okay, so,
it's a private piece, so there has to be an agreement.
and it hadn't yet been decided whether you're actually going to need that, but you've determined now that you will.
It'll be the primary.
Yeah, it was pretty clear that we would need that as the staging place, and in our meeting, the contractor made clear that that's a need for the project. We'll have to have that staging.
And that contract would be between the county and the property owner, correct?
Presumably, unless it was the Friends, I think it'd be the county.
So what we'll want to do is work through our own attorney on that language. I know that you guys have been using outside counsel. I've been in those discussions with John and Dick, and I think that we'll have our own, because our own attorney would have to review it anyway. Doesn't make sense for you guys to spend the money.
Makes sense, yeah. At this point, we have informal handshake kind of agreements, but it has to be a contract. We understand.
And we were delaying moving forward until we got to this point. No sense in spending the money until we knew we were going to have to. And can I understand, and maybe I'm the only one that needs clarification, but you're asking us for a conditional approval. Help me understand again, what does that obligate us to?
It obligates us to work them. I believe in the bid specs, there's a nominal amount, 10,000 or something that we would owe Walton if we got to this point and we're not able to do the project. But essentially, this is selecting the contractor, and it was probably in there originally with the assumption that there would be multiple bidders. So that this is selecting the bidder, making it clear and official that this is the person we're working for, and that what still needs to be done is there are some details with the contract, obviously, including the stone. And then this is subject to the funding. And as I say, what we would be obligated would be, and Peter's probably more familiar with all the specs than I am, but there was an amount that said, if we get to this point, make the conditional award, and then do not go forward with it, we owe the contractor something for his time.
Okay. We've talked about the funding piece of it at length, and I don't think we need to get into that. But what I'm hearing you say is that when the contract is written up, it would then come back to us for final approval.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So do we have some language available to us today about making a motion for this conditional approval?
I have one
I'll
up
read
for
it.
Gary.
Yeah, if I can see it. That the Board of Commissioners conditionally approves the proposal from Walton Contracting for the Point Betsy Shoreline Restoration Project in the estimated total project amount of $8 million, with final approval to be considered upon funding being secured.
Second.
Questions or comments before we move on this?
I just wanted to comment that I had a family member just this morning talk to me who is from Alpena and say, oh my gosh, why aren't you all using Alpena rock quarry? So I'm just thrilled that you all brought that forward today, just this morning. It's kismet. So
Great.
Yeah.
We planted that.
Yeah, apparently they're different species of stone and there's still details that need to be worked through, but by all indications from our engineers, it can be made to work and is advantageous to.
Because this would be a less expensive option.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yes.
Did you want Peter's comment on that?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm Peter Hink, project manager with Bar Engineering. Yes, we had a conversation last week with representatives from Walton and from the Alpena Quarry, talking through the nuances of that stone, and have done additional data collection or investigation with representatives from the Army Corps of Engineers who've done a number of inspections of that quarry over the years. And other projects where it's been used in the area, including for the National Park Service and a few of their locations on the Manitou Islands, especially. So as Chuck and Ed indicated, still have some kind of quality control kind of questions that we need to address, but indications are that with proper quality control that source can be acceptable.
And so if we didn't meet quality control, we would go back to Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's mostly on a stone by stone basis because of the nature of the rock. It can be quite variable. So there are lots of good rocks. It's just a matter of making sure that those are the ones that end up on site.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
And we also need to make sure the regulatory agencies are on board with the rock. So we have to talk to SHPO.
Can I ask one question? Because it's sticking in my head. So we're gonna truck all this stuff from Alpena. Is that an added cost for Waltons that they didn't anticipate, or?
Oh, they built that into their
They had built
alternative
that?
bid, so.
What's the cost?
Yeah, but your point, it's a lot.
That's a lot of trucking.
And anyone who's ever driven from like Alpena to Gaylord, it's a lot of two-lane for a big old truck. But these guys, these guys drive trucks for a living, and that's what they do. And as I say it does make a lot of things simpler. You don't have to load it on a barge in Wisconsin, unload it in Alpena in Alberta, load it back on a truck, take it over to your staging area and unload it again. You load it at the quarry, unload it at our staging. And so there are advantages, but boy, glad I don't live on M30.
Thank you.
Ed, you've had a conversation with or someone's had a conversation with the road commission about the traffic then that'll be on Point Betsy Road hauling stone in there? Because they expressed concern to me about the traffic.
That's been done, and the plan, one of the things that really impressed us with our meeting with Dustin was that they've got this all worked out with fences and off-road heavy trucks and the whole thing. Got matting and the whole thing. So there will be continuing discussions with the road commission, but we're impressed with the amount of thought that's gone into preserving that road.
Well, I'll just remind you from comments I've made on this before, is that the road commission is going to expect some kind of bond in the event that they have to repair the road.
Yeah, well, all that, you mentioned the details that have to be done before the thing, and that would no doubt be one of them.
Okay, very good. Any other comments or questions? Roll call.
Roloffs?
Yes.
Sauer?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Janat?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Nye?
Yes.
Motion carried. Ed, tell me Dustin's last name.
Schrader, F-R-O-E-D-E-R.
Thank you.
SCHROEDER, yeah.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your hard work, guys. Appreciate you keeping us up to speed. So I have in the past, I've neglected to offer you guys a break, and we're going into new business. So why don't we take, 5-10 minutes? What would you like? 10 minutes? So we'll come back at 10:25, please.
You're unmuted.
All right, we'll, at 10:25, we'll call this back to order. We're under new business. Katie, can I have you introduce the first subject, please?
Yeah, so the first item is to set the public hearing for the upcoming fiscal year budget. All of you should have had a binder on your desk this morning. This is the draft budget based on conversations that we've had over the last couple of months. As I've stated before, this budget or this document is still subject to change, right, up until we adopt the budget. In your packet, there was a memo kind of outlining what the next few weeks would look like related to the budget. So today we'd be setting the public hearing for August 26th. On August 26th, we would hold a public hearing related to the budget document, which will be placed on the website after your meeting today and will also be on the clerk's counter for review. Tentatively on September 9th, we would adopt the budget. However, if we're unable to adopt that budget on September 9th based on additional conversations, that would allow us to then adopt the budget on September 23rd, which is by the deadline, which our budget starts on October 1st. So there is a motion in your packet for you to read to set that public hearing for August 26th.
If I could get somebody to make that motion, please.
I'll make that motion.
Tim makes the motion.
I'll second.
Dave supports. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Sauer,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloff,
Yes.
motion carried.
The next item in your packet is the extension of a services agreement with Schaefer Company LLC, David Schaefer. As you will recall, about a year ago, we entered into a contract with Dave Schaefer to perform the recycling duties of Benzie County. Dave is here today to answer any questions or to kind of go over how the last years went. In a nutshell, we're very happy with our partnership with Dave to handle recycling duties for Benzie County. We're also very thankful for his leadership in the regional team that we have with Grand Traverse and Leelanau right now. To rewrite the materials management plan for the region. So what you have in your packet is an extension of the existing agreement in place. The only difference is the additional monthly fee, which would be covered by the grant dollars for the regional team efforts to be paid for to Dave.
Hey, good morning.
Morning.
I don't know if there's any questions for Dave or not. so.
Well, let's open it up to questions or comments first.
I have a comment. I'm just going to say I work with Dave on the Materials Management Planning Committee, and he is a wealth of knowledge. I'm floored every time, we're in a discussion and we're all over the place, and Dave comes in very matter of fact and brings us back down and kind of level sets us. He's a great presence in that. I've seen the new recycling signs up. It's my understanding, you go above and beyond your job, and I really appreciate that. I'm really glad to be able to work with you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, I've been at this for a while, so that I think that's where a lot of what you see as probably the ability to wrangle cats at times feels like second nature. I was a county employee 10 years ago and managed this department for a couple of years, and then went on and did the same for Grand Traverse County. So I have a unique perspective of our region. I'm familiar with Leelanau County, and those are the two other counties that we're planning with. So during this state mandated update of our solid waste plans to material management plans, I have been leaned upon as kind of the senior or most experienced person in our region, and I've accepted that role, and it really puts us at Benzie County in a good position to I guess most importantly, it's that we see this as a group effort, as the three counties working together. But yeah, I'm happy to it and I appreciate the compliment. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? I have just a couple. First, there was a report in our packet earlier this morning for the materials management. Was that report come from you?
I
Yes,
don't
it
know
was. It was
which report.
It said material management coordinator.
It was
Yes.
one of your,
Is that
it was your
you?
report you sent to Tammy for the packet.
Okay.
It
Yes,
did,
it was
for
sent to me.
July.
Oh, July. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
very comprehensive. I did take the time to look at it and I thought you did a great job of presenting the information, even in a fashion that I could understand it. So,
Okay, good.
yeah.
Yes.
So it, probably the most controversial site we have is in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Tell us how we're doing there.
Yeah. So why that's controversial is it's a very busy site. It started out, I think 7 years ago. It was moved from the current location at Mr. Rainier's property on Parkview Drive to the municipal boat launch area in the city of Traverse City. And that was always, or I'm sorry, Frankfurt. That was always supposed to be a temporary location. So that I don't know why it stayed there so long, but it did. And that was something I was tasked to help solve when I accepted this position as a contractor for the county, was to find a new location for that site. So I reached out to Mr. Rainier, along with, I believe, Commissioner Nye spoke with Mr. Rainier and maybe a few others, and we were able to come up with an agreement to get it back to Mr. Rainier's site on a 2-year lease. His big passion is he wanted it off the bay. I don't know that, I'm not comfortable that he feels like that's going to be a permanent solution for that site. It is very busy and he does use his building there quite a bit. So I guess that would be the controversy, is it doesn't feel stable, that's our permanent solution. So I'm working on trying to identify other potential sites that could either be developed or that are already in place and would just need a little bit of work to host, to, again, in the future at some point, if we do need to move that site, which I believe seems likely. We want to be ready for that. We don't want to be in a situation where all of a sudden we're scrambling and it ends up back at the boat harbor.
Yep. If I might, Bob, go ahead.
If you know how many containers and how often are they dumped?
Yeah, there's 11 containers at the Frankfurt site. So
Is that enough?
that's the most we have in the county. We have talked about putting another. That's something we could maybe try. Mr. Rainier feels like it won't make a difference. GFL feels like it won't make a difference. They'll just get filled. So the current schedule is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So it's picked up pretty regularly. And a big challenge, and this is a challenge with all of our sites, is people aren't folding their cardboard boxes. So even the small ones, as long as it fits in the window, they're putting it in there. So we're getting a lot of space.
A lot of air.
Yeah, a lot of air. I got a grant for the county earlier this year that provided for mailers that went out to all county residents, as well as stickers for the bins. And we're getting new bins in the area. So the new green bins, those stickers are going in between the windows. So Frankfurt currently has all new stickers, and part of it says flattened cardboard, and it doesn't seem to be working. So I'm actually this week working with another sticker company, and I think that above the windows we're going to put in bold flatten all cardboard, see if that helps.
Like the window this wide, you can only put flat cardboard in it.
Yeah, so that's the idea of the front window, but then the side windows you need for the plastics, and yeah, so if people followed the rules, I don't think we would have You know, and so we're trying via education. Again, mailers went out to all county residents. There's now going to be stickers. There already are on the front of every bin. And you'd be surprised. I've been at sites and people will come up and ask me what the rules are. And, you know, I'll say, you know, it's right. It's all right there. It's right. So now it's going to be on the front of the bin, in between the windows, and a sticker on top. And if that doesn't do it, I don't know.
Brenda?
Yeah, perhaps I should know the answer to this, but I do recall a site picked out. This Mr. Renier's site was supposed to be temporary in preparation for another site that we had drawings in front of us with traffic patterns and where the bin. What happened with that alternative?
The
Yeah.
Frankfurt location.
Yeah, so that is still maybe a potential. It would take an investment to develop, as well as approval from the state and potentially the EPA. I've heard some talk of that.
I thought I remembered those were secure, is my memory.
No, we asked if they were, and we never got straight answers on that.
It sounds like initial conversations were had and nothing, there's
Nothing's
been no formal approval that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not for lack of effort on the county's part.
No.
Is it the city that needs
It-
to be following up
it-
with this?
It's a city-owned property
Yes.
and,
Okay.
and potentially a wetland. So,
Which was a concern we talked about when it was presented as an option, was this whole wetland issue and the trash going to the wetland. There was the report that was done by the city years ago regarding the property. We were assured by the leadership of the city that, it was going to be okay and all these things. But when we asked for the actual approval at those higher levels, that was never secured to the county as the approvals were actually obtained. It was just said they were. And so as we've gotten through this, well, we're finding out that those approvals still need to be sought officially.
Is it your opinion, David, if we had those approvals, would that be the best location for the bins?
it's hard to say. That particular location would be maxed out with the amount of bins that we currently have. And so if the population continues to grow in that region, which of the county, which I presume it will, that site would not be able to grow with the increased population. So it might work for a while, and then maybe we could develop another site nearby. It's also, a little bit of the rumor mill that it might not be such a popular choice from the neighbors in that area, as far as allowing it to be developed.
So for all intents and purposes, we're not requesting that the city follow through with any of those approvals. We're looking for alternative sites to that site.
Both.
Yeah.
So we're working with the city to continue the exploration of that site to see if it is a viable solution. A better study on it. Does it make sense for the future? Will it be accepted in the neighborhood? Is it, does it meet all requirements on, state, any other levels of approval? And exploring other potential sites.
The city site would involve a lot of money to develop it and to make it readily usable. So that is also, part of this conversation of, if it's not going to meet the future need of the community, does it make sense to invest the amount of money that is needed to develop that site if there's an alternative that would meet the future demand?
Can I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
So we all know in the housing world, the word NIMBY is used, not in my backyard. With your experience, do you recognize that that's an issue with these containers? Are we going to see that not in just this location, but any location we try to where people are opposed to having these in their areas?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's the biggest challenge.
Okay.
Is this site anywhere as close to the cell tower site that makes the news quite often? Thank you.
That's a good place for it. They own the property.
Tim?
We've talked in the past
Not with you, I don't think. But the materials going in the recycling bins, like if people are just using them, throwing their trash in there. And it has been alleged or suggested that short-term rentals aren't giving the renters places for their rubbish, but they're forced to take it and they drive out of town and see these bins and, oh, I'm just gonna put them there. Is that one of the, are we still having that issue?
Well, it's hard to know who the some trash does end up in the bins. The reports from GFL is it's under 3%.
Okay.
So it's minimal. That doesn't mean though that yeah, there are bad players out there. Most of the people that use the sites are, you know, intentionally recycling and know what to recycle. Could get them to fold the boxes, that would be huge. I don't know. I mean, I have had reports of people from Bear Lake and Manistee County using the sites up here because they don't have as many bins and they're often even more full than ours. But that's been an issue, you know, that kind of is the idea of why people are starting to plan regionally and with their neighbors is there really aren't borders to recycling and trash. And you know, if you live closer to one area, you're probably at the county line, you're not going to ignore or you know, you're not going to pay attention to the which county's recycling site or what the preferred hauler is. Yeah.
I
So
don't mean to interrupt you, but bottom line is that you don't know if it's short-term rentals or not. It's just that people are occasionally putting their garbage there.
sometimes there's garbage in there. We definitely see a much larger influx of material in the sites in the summer months.
Okay.
And so another issue was businesses using the recycling sites when it's supposed to be just residential.
Yeah, yep, which also is illegal. So both of those things are illegal, putting trash in there and businesses using the sites. A letter was sent out to all commercial parcels, letting them know that it's illegal for them to use the site, the recycling sites, and we have followed up with businesses and are currently trying to find a solution to help them recycle, although that really isn't part of the current funding of a residential recycling program. It's not a function of the county to figure out how businesses recycle, but we are doing that. We're trying to help develop a site for that as well.
Other questions or comments for Dave?
Gary's good.
Gary?
Any chance that Packaging Corporation's gonna go back into the bins at the schools?
No, and that also was a big reason why we're seeing, you know, the sites as full as they are. Is all the cardboard that used to go to the trailers at the schools. Those trailers are no longer there, and they won't come back. I haven't been given any indication that that's going to be a possibility. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was one of the first things I worked on. Yeah.
There's no other questions or comments. You've got a recommendation in front of you. Someone like to entertain that?
Trigg moves that the Board of Commissioner authorizes an extension to the one-year service agreement with Schaefer Company LLC to provide recycling coordinator duties for Benzie County in the amount of $7,000 monthly, with funds available in the 228 fund and through the State Materials Management Grant. Such agreement subject to approval by legal counsel and authorizes the chair to sign.
Or seconds.
Comments or questions? Dave, the only question I would have for you on this, and the administrator and I talked about it. You apparently are the one that wants just the one-year contract. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, we could draft it in a different way with the potential for extension. But that's a discussion we could have.
Okay. I think it'd be helpful for us to know that we've secured it for like a 3-year period, so we're not having to revisit this every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you'd be open to having that conversation with Katie, we would certainly, from my perspective, we'd entertain an amendment to that, or a modification to that contract. Right, we need to do roll call on that.
Trigg,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloffs.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thanks for being here, Dave.
Okay,
Dave.
thanks. Have a nice day.
The next item in your packet is release of funds to the Airport Authority. At budget time last year, the Board of Commissioners allocated $50,000 to the Airport Authority. However, only approved $12,000 at the time to be released to the Airport Authority. Because of the increase, the Board of Commissioners wanted to kind of go through some steps before releasing those $3,000. Some of those steps were to secure the updated MOU with the players of the Airport Authority, and then just work through some of the other kinks with the Airport Authority regarding communication and, those sorts of things. And so we're really at a point now where we've done those things. Brooke comes on a regular basis. We've improved the communication with the county as well as the other entities. We have finalized an updated MOU, which includes Crystal Lake Township as part of the authority. And so now in front of you today is the approval to release those additional $3,000 to the Airport Authority that were budgeted.
Brooke, I know you want to make a comment unrelated to this, but let me take the action item first, okay? Any questions or comments regarding the recommendation? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Nye moves that the Board of Commissioners approves the release of funds in the amount of $3,000 to the Airport Authority as budgeted in the fiscal year 2024-25 budget.
Mark, you will support.
Again, questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Davis,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
Markey.
Yes.
Oh, yes, sorry. Roloffs,
Yes.
Sauer,
I thought I was the only one. Yes.
moving on, Trigg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
If the board would indulge us, Brooke has asked to have a couple of minutes as a follow-up to her earlier presentation.
First, I want to say thank you. To make our airport successful, it does take a team effort. So I do thank you guys for your support. We really appreciate it. To address a question that Mr. Jeanette asked about other options other than removing the obstructions. I believe it's been suggested that a non-standard approach work for our airport, and it's been thoroughly researched with MDOT. MDOT says absolutely not. And from what I was aware, the only possibility of an airport in the state could be Mackinac Island that has such an approach. So, and of course, they have their own unique topography and whatnot. So just wanted to address that. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to give me a call.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Katie, would you like to introduce the next one, please?
Yeah, so the next one is employee benefits renewal, and we have Jennifer Patterson here today from Advantage Benefits Group, who's our benefits agent, to go over the documents within your packet regarding the renewal of the benefits we provide to our employees. Much of the benefits are the same as they were last year based on the guaranteed rates we were able to secure with Advantage Benefits Group. We did have 2 subcommittee meetings with staff to kind of go over the benefits and hear from staff as to what they would like to see in the future. One of the recommendations is in your packet today from the staff related to the health savings account deposit into the staff's account. There was a heavy push from the staff in the room, and there was at least 20 of us in the room, Tammy, that they would really like to see the health savings account deposits just twice a year versus on a quarterly basis. To me, I mean, that was a push from a large amount of staff, and I think that recommendation is warranted. But I will invite Jennifer up here. There is quite a few documents within your packet. She can go over what the renewals look like, which they're quite good renewals based on what our neighbors have seen, and then answer any questions that the Board of Commissioners may have related to the benefits offered.
All right, good morning.
Morning,
So-
Jennifer. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. There's a lot of documents in here that kind of with the groups that Katie pulled together, which is a really, really good idea. Because I think if you don't have buy-in from people every year, you're going to feel like I'm going to feel like Katie's going to feel like we're just like the bad person in the room. And benefits are
especially healthcare, is going to continue to be a problem. Unless somebody has some magic formula that nobody is aware of right now, it's going to get worse before it gets better. The good news is you did secure an excellent guarantee, no more than roughly 12%. Priority came in lower than that, which is very unique. I'll tell you, very unique, because they don't really have much experience. They've started last year. They're really into like 6 months of data. Most of the time they nudge right up to that maximum increase. They don't give a 2% spread. So we were very pleasantly surprised. Without any benefit changes. The only change that was made is in one of the committees, and I think it was the first one that basically said, make it really clear to the employees that nudge up at that deductible on a qualified plan. And remember, a qualified plan allows for HSA deposits, is IRS dictated. It has to track to a mandated lowest level deductible, and that's where you're at, a low deductible. That's always, like, I work with so many employers that truly have a high deductible plan, so it's not a good definition to call this a high deductible plan, but the government in its wisdom calls it a qualified high deductible plan, which allows money to go into a health savings account. And I think over the past year, your folks have really, I'm not gonna say everybody loves it, but at the beginning, it was rough. You had some ugly audience members, but I think we got through it. People understand that if they don't spend their HSA money, they get it. Unlike that HRA money was just a promise to get it. So folks are really getting it. I like the idea of 2 times a year. You don't have huge turnover. If you had huge turnover, I'd say, that's kind of risky because you put it in and they take off and it's their money. So the renewals are very good. Delta Dental did a great job. They locked into a 2-year. Standard was with an increase, minimal, but your committees like the idea of offering some employee benefit options that are employee paid, like critical illness, accident, and some hospital indemnity. And that's their choice if they want to enroll in that. And remember, you had an AFLAC policy here, but that's kind of like between the individual and AFLAC. This is opening it up to employees who haven't had that opportunity in the past or like it right out of their paycheck. So that kept standard flat. The only other increase that we saw is COBRA. And COBRA was done for free by Priority Health for many, many years. I mean, almost back to when I was at Priority Health. They finally decided that they're pinched and they have to pass along a negotiated cost to all companies, not just the county. So that is a small amount. It's roughly, put my glasses on, $605 a year. So that's to administer COBRA. When people leave, obviously they can carry their benefits at their expense plus 2%. So I think I may have rambled. What questions do you have?
No rambling, by the way. You're doing fine.
Okay, good.
Questions or comments regarding this presentation?
Are our employees satisfied with what's in this?
I think so.
That's my biggest concern.
Yeah, so obviously there's still employees that really don't like the plan. And there's always going to be that no matter which plan we offer to our staff. Like Jennifer said at the beginning, there was a lot of growing pains. And I won't not admit that there was a lot of growing pains, but really I haven't heard much of those sorts of concerns since then. There's still an employee here and there who has trouble, and we try our best to address those issues. But I have not heard the grumblings. Maybe they're grumbling to someone else, but as far as my perspective, I haven't heard the grumblings like we did when we first switched to the plan. I have received feedback that the plan perhaps is not great for those of the next generation, but it's good for those of the younger generation who work for us. So that's something to consider as we continue these benefits subcommittee meetings. We're not going to stop those committee meetings. We're going to keep calling together staff to just talk about the benefits and what they look like and what we can do as a county. But other than that, I haven't had any glaring, you guys are terrible, kind of comments.
Okay. Well, apparently they chose me to grumble too.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
You're the new guy. They always.
Yep.
pick on the new commissioner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've spoken to 3 different employees that said that they're at their out-of-pocket max and don't really feel like they're getting coverage as far as it not paying for different labs, different tests. And the reason that they didn't switch to a different plan is because they don't have an option. They don't either have a spouse that has coverage or whatever. But, yeah, I think the big one was not paying for different labs and tests. And is there a way to track who actually is using it and who just choosing not to go to the doctor because they can't swing it anymore, or?
Well, a couple things, if I may dive into that a little bit, our office is always open to take any questions. If somebody thinks they're getting something denied that shouldn't be, we would want to talk to Priority Health and dig into that. So if they could bring that to our attention, that would be great. We're a very hands-on office. We're the biggest broker with Priority Health in the state. We get a lot of attention. So if somebody's not getting a bill paid and it's a legitimate bill that should be paid, a lot of times what happens, and I'll just go on a little sidebar, a primary care doctor sometimes says, do you want additional tests done? And that's not included as a routine physical covered in full. And they don't always express to the individual that's not within the American Medical Association's definition of a routine visit. So they're stuck paying that toward their deductible, which is why they have money in their HSA to help them pay for that. So that could be not necessarily an insurance issue. It could be a primary care doctor's communication issue with what's covered under a preventive visit and what's not. I say that with authority because I've done that with my doctor and they've said it up front and I'm like, fine, I want the extra tests. I'm at the age that I want the extra blood work. I will pay the difference. I get it. It's not included in my preventive visit.
To be fair, though, when you're in the doctor's office and they're saying, do you need this test? Do you need this test? Where does a customer, a person receiving these benefits go to know if this is covered? Because I know, and I can speak about myself personally, right? That doesn't violate anything. When we were under Blue Cross Blue Shield and you have your annual visit, which it should be preventative, right? It's your
annual preventative.
Yeah, your annual preventative. Under priority, some things were considered diagnostic, which had never been before. And I was really surprised by that. And I don't know where we should tell. I know there's a portal and I kind of perused it, but it's not clear until you get a bill. Well, why wasn't this covered? It was my annual visit. This is supposed to be preventative. And then you've got kind of a part-time job trying to figure out who to talk to, why it wasn't covered, where do you get some, and frankly, I just kind of threw my hands up and went, okay, well, I don't have time to pursue this. So I would be in the camp of, I found it different than the benefits we used to have.
Well, it's going to be different because it's a qualified plan where everything is subject to the deductible except for preventive care. So Blue Cross works in that same way. If you had Blue Cross with a qualified HSA plan, they would do the exact same thing because they're dictated by the IRS to charge on a deductible anything considered not preventive. Where somebody could go look for that is under the Priority Health website, under the, it's under, I think I may have to follow up with the exact title, but is what is allowed for your age and gender for preventive care, what's considered preventive. So I can go in there and I can look at my age and I can follow that along and look what's approved under preventive. So most people aren't going to want to do that. Maybe what we can do is bring some copies of that to our open enrollment meetings and make a point of saying, if you're curious when you're going in, say to your doctor, because I've also learned, I'm on a plan with an HSA, I say nothing about my shoulder that hurts or anything else because all of a sudden it's billed. All of a sudden I have an office visit that I wasn't expecting.
So there are certain things you can't talk about in a preventative visit or you will be charged under diagnostic.
Yep.
Right. And so how do you know what you can and can't talk about and what labs you can and cannot get?
Well, I would I'd dialogue with your doctor and say, hey, I want to bring this up, but I don't want to be charged. We have to teach people to be advocates for themselves. These doctors their job is to bill when they can. Preventive care is rigid. It's not free for all like we think it should be. I go in a preventive visit and I say my back hurts. I think that's prevention. Help me fix my back. It's not. It's diagnostic. And we can take this really we can do our best to address this in employee meetings. But if somebody wants to call us directly, we can give them the resources and we can help them. And customer service at Priority does a good job too on the back. But I really don't know that anybody should feel we did a benchmarking review of counties. and it was in your packet. Not all the counties. We also added a county that's nameless here, but it's a competitor for some of your employees. They're gonna have to radically change their benefits. They can't afford them anymore. Bottom line is, though, that your benefits line up really well. Your HSA lines up really well. I'm hoping not too many people are deterring or not going for care because they feel they can't afford it. That's something they need to bring to our attention so we can talk about it. Now, it's not covering their full deductible. Your deposits are covering slightly over 50%. But when you look at that amount of money being given to them, I would say, and I can look at this, I'll look at data on this after the year ends, how many people are meeting their deductible. But the average organization, only 30% of their employees ever meet their deductible. That means 70% of their people are having extra dollars in their HSA that they can use for dental, vision, orthodontia, or just carry on until their retirement. So I feel for them and I want to talk to them, but I wish they would reach out so we could drill down to find out what is the real issue. And especially before maybe the meetings. Because if they bring it up in the meetings and we go sideways, it deters a lot of education opportunity.
The other thing I want to note too is before the county paid those bills. So when you went into your PCP visits and you maybe said things or talked about things and it was diagnostic, we were under an HRA plan where you didn't see the bill, but the county did every time you did that. And so that's the difference too, is the county was having to pay that bill, which we found was very unsustainable. That's why we had a 42% increase. And so we've shifted that. And that's the big hurt is folks were still doing the same, but it was being billed to the county and not the employee before. Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
I would just like to echo something you said, Jennifer, and has been discussed. Most consumers are not comfortable questioning their medical providers. I can tell you for myself, when I have tests ordered, I ask them to check with my insurance company to see if it's qualified. So I know in advance if it's going to happen or not, but not everybody will have that same confidence level. And they're always, and this is not going to be received well, I get this, but there are options. I mean, you have the American Health Care Act that if they want to opt out of ours and go into the American Health Care Act, by the way, they won't be happy about that, but there are other options if they say, I have no options. That's not entirely true. You can do your own shopping if you want, and the county will reimburse you or do some sharing with you of whatever you're not taking from us. So I think we need to spend an equal amount of time educating our employees on how do you manage your relationship with your healthcare provider. You know, the healthcare provider is even getting accustomed to being challenged now. I don't know how we get there because part of it's a personality trait. And I also understand, because I've been in these kind of meetings before, employees will have a tendency to want to talk about their personal situation. That open meeting is not the time to do that. Do you schedule time for them then to talk about their individual needs?
Absolutely. Yep. And once this is finalized, we're going to start finalizing days for meetings, days for helping people with the Navigator, you know, the enrollment tool that everybody uses, and then to have one-on-one opportunities. And there's also a lot that we can't do necessarily because we're not priority health employees. We can't dig in and look at, okay, is there anything else that is, if somebody shut their door in our car and they're holding up a claim because it's in adjudication for a auto-related thing. So there's just so many things we can't see, but we note it, we get back to them, and we will get them an answer.
I've seen claims denied just because the medical provider submitted that they used the wrong language.
Yeah.
Wrong codes.
And that's when they need to rely on you guys to help me navigate through that. So we really have to be managing that relationship. Look at the bills, make sure that they don't need to be challenged. Different question altogether, but Katie, I noticed that we're looking at funding it twice a year. You've answered my concern about how many defaults might we actually have. But did I see that it was funded October 1 and then again 6 months later?
That was the thought.
When does the plan year start? Is it October 1?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was thinking it was January.
Right. No, we're on a weird timeline.
So do we issue the new cards then in October?
You don't get new cards unless something has changed. Your card is your card for priority and
Okay.
your.
Bottom line is that it does start October 1.
Right.
Okay, I want to make sure that wasn't.
Yeah. But no, you only would get a new card if something changes. And so, for instance, I had an employee come in because they were like, why did we get new health insurance cards? And then when I talked to them about it, like, oh yeah, I had another kid and it didn't fit on one card. So they got two.
Okay.
And so you won't get a new card unless there's a change.
So the risk, you mind? Yeah.
Please.
So the risk we're taking in going to 2 payments a year, let's say we hire an employee on February 15th. They're going to be prorated for 15 days to get to March 1st, and then they're going to be fully loaded for 6 months on March 1st.
Correct. Yes.
But because of our limited turnover, although today's not a good day to say that.
No, right?
So we shouldn't laugh about
But
that.
on a whole, I mean, we're in kind of a weird spot right now where there's some turnover, but as a whole, we really have low turnover in comparison to other organizations. We really do well in maintaining our employees.
I didn't mean to make light of that, by the way. But
I thought it was funny.
On a from a financial perspective, is what kind of risk are we really looking at in terms of dollars and cents?
So right now it's quarterly. And so if we go to twice a year versus quarterly, that, quarterly amount is then doubling. And so like in the situation that Rhonda noted, they get here on February 15th, they're prorated so many days before March 1st, and it's the payroll it's a payroll with March 1st. They get the full, other half of the deductible, and then they leave, 6 days later. We can't take that money back. Whereas now they would get that amount of money, but it's only a quarterly amount versus a half amount. So you're, a couple $100 more for that employee that you're out.
And there's not anything that we can do in an employment contract to protect ourselves from that? Is it an unjust enrichment situation?
It's an IRS issue.
Yeah, that's the nature of an HSA. That's how they work. That's why it's interesting. So there's other organizations who will front load and then they deduct it from the paycheck to every pay period to get the money back too. And so you're paying that person back, that municipality back for the dollars. So there's that option as well, but we could maybe approach that in the future. But that's under an 80-20 split, and they're then paying it back, but they know that as the employee that they're paying back a certain percentage of that HSA.
So if we were to make this choice to go to the 2 payments a year for the HSA, whose responsibility would it be to track? I mean, when we revisit this in a year to say, did this work? How much did the county lose? Was there turnover where it doesn't justify and we need to go back to a quarterly payment? Who's tracking that?
So between Kelly and our office, we balance monthly the HSA. So we print out from Health Equity all the deposits made, and then we have a spreadsheet that comes out of BSNA payroll with all the deductions pulled, and then we balance that to make sure what we've paid is truly what we paid. So we have those spreadsheets with the people listed. So we would be able to see, okay, this person left and they were given this payment. So we were out this much money per se. Mm-hmm.
Really good questions, folks. What else do you have?
The only thing else I would throw just to think about in the future, because it's a great concern, it could become worse, is many organizations move to a match, like a 401k or a 403b, where basically if I said, I'm going to give you 50% of your deductible, but you have to also match your deductible. So every pay period, you're going to get $20 if you give $20,
right,
up to the full deductible. So you're kind of putting people in position to pay themselves. You're going to still give them that over 50%, but you're going to present it as a match. I don't think you want to do that right away, but I'm just planting the seed that if it ever becomes an issue or you're finding that people are taking the money and leaving, maybe you do it as a match. They're less inclined to maybe take as much money if they're not willing to match their full deductible amount, which is allowed by the IRS.
Katie, last year when we were having a similar discussion, we were also talking about people that have funds set aside in a different vehicle that are not on the county's insurance. What was it? What's that referred to? It's
the FSA.
FSA.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to be addressing that now too? Or is that a different does that require a different level of approval?
So we need to talk about that because last year, the Board of Commissioners did take action to put money into those FSAs for some, but not all. So that is a further conversation that we have to figure out how we're handling that.
For some, but not all.
Mm.
That was discriminatory to me.
Mm-hmm.
To do with people that are seniors,
Mm-hmm.
that are getting,
So that's a whole different conversation.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're not overlooking it here.
No.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If
I
there's,
would ask your chart that you have comparing Benzie County to the other counties.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually add a section that covers the HRAs and the HSA. Because I do think that's a nice benefit that our employees have, but it's not represented in this chart.
Okay, we can easily do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that when, if you give this to employees and they're looking at this, they're gonna say, well, okay, great, but you know, that the HSA
Right.
does add, I think, some nice value to it.
Yeah, the other thing is we would, and again, we can build on this in any fashion, but we would probably also want to do payroll contributions because you're kind of unique in that. Most of the others, as Katie mentioned, they're 80-20. So they're paying something out of their paycheck too, which your employees do not.
Yeah.
So that's a huge differential.
Yeah. Like I said, just, I think as if an employee understands all the benefits and can see it, say, well, yeah, but our neighboring county, they get this. But then if you have put them side by side, it's like, oh, it's represented here, but we get much better over here.
For sure. We can do that easily. These are all clients. So, you know, we don't call on any counties that are not our clients. They're usually not easily swayed to share their information. But if we can get more counties on here, we will.
although I think that's a great comparison, Tim, that you're referring to.
Yep.
Because it's an added benefit.
Yeah.
You may be saying my deductible's this, but you're not paying any of the premium. Where somebody else might have an equal deductible, but they're also paying part of the premium.
And we have some of that information already that we reviewed internally specifically. We were just hesitant to share that too publicly. That was all.
Yeah,
We
maybe
can
if we
get
get
that
to that level, we put county A, county B, county C. I have to be a little sensitive to.
Yeah.
You've got a recommendation for a motion? Are we at that point where someone would be comfortable making it?
Craig moves that the Board of Commissioners approve the benefits renewal for Benzie County staff for the 25-26 benefit year, including Priority Health, Delta Dental, and the Standard, and authorizes health saving account contribution eligible employees at a rate of 50% of the plan deductible to be deposited in 2 lump sum payments, with the first full pay period following October 1st, 2025 and March 1st, 2026, and authorizes the county administrator's office to sign the benefit provider agreements, and further that the Board of Commissioners agrees to opt out of the Public Act 152 hard cap limits. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what Public Act 152 hard cap limits is.
Let's get us a support.
I'll
Okay.
support for discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll do my best. It's basically, it says that you have 2 choices and you choose the one that doesn't do the Public Act, which is the 80-20 rule, right? So that's all. I'm not an expert in how to express that. Do you know that better than I do, Katie?
Yeah, so we are allowed under the Public Act to charge employees up to 20% of their benefits costs. We're allowed to do that. But we opt out because we cover the premium. And so under Public Act 152, they establish what they call a hard cap. It's the maximum allowed that the county can pay on the employee's behalf and what the employee can pay on their behalf. And because we fully fund the premium, we opt out of that, saying we're not going to participate in that 80-20 hard cap program. If we were to opt into that, that would mean that we would be charging our employees a percentage of their premium up to 20%. So for instance, Manistee County charges their employees 11%, whereas Grand Traverse County charges 20%. So you can go up to that 20%, but the board has to actually opt into that program to do that. Because we cover the premiums, we are opting out because we're not charging our staff anything for those premiums.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
That would be good information to also have if you could do like county A, county B thing, the average 20% of the premium is this per pay period.
That's a good idea. We can do that. We want to impress on folks without acting like, having them roll their eyes at us, that this is an outstanding benefit and an outstanding cost. And is it perfect? No, but it's still a very, very good benefit.
And I do want to yield to the convenience and honor the request the employees have made to do this in 2 payments, but I would like to revisit this in a year and see what it looked like when it was actually implemented.
And you're referring to the
2 payments in lieu of instead of 4.
I agree fully. Any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Janai,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloff.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
And just to mark everyone's calendar now, tentatively, we're planning to do 2 days of open enrollment, August 27th and 28th. So if you mark that down on your calendar, you don't have to come to open enrollment, but we always invite you to come to have that dialogue, ask questions and all those sorts of things. So. Thanks,
What are
Jeff.
those dates again?
August 27th and 28th.
Someone's going to be physically here,
Yes, they will be physically here. I'm trying to line up the other
like 9 to 5,
people.
9 to 4.
I have booked all day for both days at this point.
Is that by appointment?
So we're gonna do a mix of that. So I'll end up sending out an email that says like, here's a block of time where it'll just be like a group, setting, and then here's a block of time for appointments.
All right, Katie, would you like to introduce the next subject?
Yes, let me get to it. So the next item within your packet is regarding the jail boiler pump replacement. This went before the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee, and the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee has recommended approval to move forward with the boiler pump replacement. I smirk because it's the taco assembly. Anyways, Under Sheriff Hubers is here to kind of talk about what that means within the boiler pump. But in a nutshell, what is there is exceeding 30 years and it could fail at any point. And so the idea is to replace this mechanism so that we're securing the usefulness of this piece of equipment. The recommendation is to move forward with Hearst Mechanical. There was an additional proposal in there. There was a third entity contacted and they did not respond to the sheriff for that response. And so the recommendation would be to move forward with Hearst Mechanical.
Greg, before we get started with you, okay? This has been vetted pretty thoroughly by the building committee.
Correct.
Would anybody be comfortable in making a motion?
I would. I make motion that the Board of Commissioners accepts the proposal from Hearst Mechanical in the amount of $6,903.12 for the replacement of the boiler pump and taco assembly as recommended by the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee with funds available at the Capital Projects Fund.
Davis will second.
Right, is there any questions for Greg or Katie on this?
Had me at 30 years.
Yeah, I think Ken said 32 years is the actual date.
Pump is still functional.
It is.
Is it something that we would keep on hand in the event that
Yes.
new pump takes crap? I don't.
Yes.
Literally.
Any other comments or questions for Greg?
What is a taco assembly?
This is we have a boiler system.
Right.
And we have
Taco is
two
a
pumps that
brand,
run the
if I'm not
water for
mistaken.
that boiling system. They're about 120-pound pumps. And they work out together and as a backup. So if one were to fail, I think as Bob put it so well, if one were to fail, the other one would still handle the load for a short-term basis. One was replaced a couple of years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago since I've been here and Katie's been here. The other one is the original pump from the building of the facility.
Okay.
Taco is a brand,
Oh, well, I think it's funny.
just so you know.
Okay.
That's the kind of pump I had in my outdoor wood boiler for the circulation.
It is stamped on the side of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
I just wasn't sure what part that was.
Other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloff.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Janai,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Greg. Edie?
The next item in your agenda is approval of the work agreement for the Emergency Management Performance Grant. Rebecca is here today to answer any questions related to what's in the packet for you. But in a nutshell, her position is partially funded by outside grant dollars. And in order to receive those grant dollars in a timely manner, there's various documentation that is needed to report the work that Rebecca is doing on behalf of Benzie County.
Before you get started, Rebecca, is anybody willing to make a motion, or do you want discussion on this first?
I'll make the motion. We do this every year.
Yep, this is every year.
I'll make the motion. The Board of Commissioners approves the 2026 LEMP work agreement with the Michigan State Police Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division, and authorizes the Chair and Emergency Management Coordinator to sign.
9 seconds.
Is there any questions for Rebecca?
Usually I try to brief and I don't add the actual agreement to the packet because it's 32 pages, but there were some new people and I wanted you to be aware of the fact that I quarterly report based on the needs of the grant, that if you looked at my job description, you would see that I do those things. So it's kind of like giving you a finite detail of a significant portion of my job description from the state level. I always feel like I have two bosses. One is the state and then one is the county. So I have county duties, and then all my state duties are dictated by grant for the most part.
Does this grant gone down in value?
Yes, sir. I don't even know. Yeah.
I guess that's how I should.
So we're operating on the fact that let's do the paperwork, let's make sure it's in place, let's keep all of the things going. However, I can't guarantee that we're gonna be given the funding. Every day seems like it changes. I used to get a significant amount more. It again gets dropped. I think it's gonna drop again. You know, the number I was gonna drop again another 30 or 40% of what I get, which is I only get 10. And so now I'm gonna get, 7. Yeah. Yeah. So it used to be a larger portion up to when we had extra COVID funds. I got 49% of my wages were covered by grant. So that's the max you can have. And then it's usually runs since I've been here and learned it about, 30. And now I'm down to a little bit. So unfortunately that keeps going away with the decisions about whether FEMA is going to exist and what they're going to do is all dictated on higher than me. So we'll take every little bit we can get. We'll follow the goals that we need to follow because none of them are outlandish, and it helps keep a good metric. So, but to be honest, a lot of that distribution is based on if you're near a border or not, and population. A lot of the math that dictates how much Benzie County gets versus Manistee County or Grand Traverse County, it has population in the equation and the math.
Is it also, thinking of that Siegel mess that happened up there, would that increase that or make it?
No, no, that usually comes from different amounts.
Okay.
This particular grant that we're agreeing to has kind of just been a status quo, trying to maintain that, but just the operating, because statute in Michigan says that thou shall have a emergency management coordinator. If you don't assign one specifically, that role falls on the board chair, but still thou shalt have. And so for when the state says thou shalt have, they're trying to supplement funding, saying, here's the funding, because we're making
mandated service.
Yes, so mandated service will try to help support it, because a lot of people have probably over the years said that, because this was enacted in 1970 something.
Gary, I'd be one of the least qualified.
I say you're the guy.
Did I hear does someone over here have a comment? Question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so you're required by the state to do certain things as the emergency manager, and the funding is decreasing, but your responsibilities are not impacted. They remain the same. Okay, thank you.
Unfunded mandate, we like to call those.
Funded mandate.
Yeah, I mean, if you get, well, it's partially funded, I guess, they're trying to stipend that they
Is there
have.
anything
A
else?
lot of that funding, though, it comes federally, so it's, it gets
trickle
broken
down.
down, it's trickled down, and again, had we a higher population or
some other factors, we'd probably get a little bit larger percentage. But
I'm gonna,
it shouldn't be like that because we have just as many people here in the summer, and the rural communities have the bigger impact. I guess I'm gonna throw it out there, it is kind of part of the conversation, but if we were to have a tornado or an ice storm or something that has clearly impacted our neighbors before, what funding source do we have to start working on recovery? Right now, we don't think we have anything set aside. So that's always a conversation that gets missed because a lot of folks are like, that stuff doesn't happen. And so we'll worry about it when it happens. And it's just what it is.
it's a big what if. I'm gonna call for the vote.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloffs.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Janai,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
motion carried.
Once you steer.
Thank you for what you do, Rebecca.
I'll give it to
Long as you keep our job.
you.
Yeah, no one wants my job.
Katie, do you want to introduce the next one, please?
Yes, so in your packet is the consideration of the employee and employer delegate for the MERS annual business conference meeting. Each year for the last couple of years, there was a break for a while. We have sent an employee and an employer delegate down to MERS, Detroit or Grand Rapids to sit through that conference. This year's at Grand Traverse Resort. Apparently Northern Michigan is the popular location this year for all the conferences. And so this year's at the Grand Traverse Resort. We did have one employee step forward, Laurel Evans. Laurel Evans is the detective administrative assistant up at the sheriff's office. And she stepped forward at saying that she would like to attend. Last year, Suzanne Mall attended, one of our deputies, and got a lot out of it, really enjoyed the conference. And so I did put it out to a secret ballot because that's what you're required to do by MERS. And Laurel was elected. So in your packet today is to confirm the designation of Laurel to attend that conference, but then also to select an employer delegate. An employer delegate is an elected official or myself. And so both Rhonda and I and Gary Sauer have indicated they would like to attend. We do have to select a primary delegate and an alternate delegate. Typically, we only send the primary delegate to the conference. And so I'll let you two decide on who you would like to be the primary delegate unless you've no longer decided you wanted to go. But this is to take action to appoint all of those individuals to then serve on behalf of Benzie at the MERS conference at the resort, which is in mid-October.
And I will yield to my senior commissioner.
Gary really likes it.
Just made that easy for me.
Yeah. And I would make the
You'll
motion.
be the alternate then?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure, yeah.
Please go make that motion.
The motion that the Board of Commissioners selects Laurel Evans as officer delegate and Commissioner Gary Sauer as the,
No.
oh, no, this is for us. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
this
start
is
over.
for you. So
That the Board of Commissioners selects Commissioner Gary Sauer as the officer delegate and Commissioner Rhonda and I as the alternate office delegate to attend the annual MERS conference in October 2025 and further affirms Laurel Evans as the employee delegate to attend such conference. Should have read it first.
Yeah.
Could we get support, please?
I'll second.
You seconded that?
Okay.
David did.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Roloffs.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Janai,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
motion carried.
Great to see
I'm
Tony.
so excited.
Gary, don't embarrass us.
Again.
I was gonna send Rhonda because Rhonda really wanted to hammer him, so.
Last conference I was at with you, you were up front singing.
That's true.
Katie, you want to introduce the next subject, please?
The next item within your packet is a budget amendment related to the jail commissary. You saw a similar one about 6 weeks ago for the budget amendment. In a nutshell, what is happening is we're receiving more revenues than we anticipated, which then in turn is more expenditures than we anticipated. And so what this budget amendment is doing is recognizing the revenues and the expenditures related to the commissary funds.
I'll make the motion that the Board of Commissioners authorizes a budget amendment in the amount of $2,000 to the 595 missionary fund.
Commissary.
Commissary.
Missionary, commissary, same thing.
Is
Yeah.
that support?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's call for the vote, please.
Davis,
Yes.
Janai,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloffs.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
motion carried.
And just for the public's benefit, I know it looks like I'm pushing through some of these agendas, but these are things that are just routine
Yes.
stuff. Katie,
So
want to
then-
go with the next one?
Yep, the next.
Not so routine.
Not so routine. So the next item within your packet is related to the campus cleaning services. You'll recall just a couple of months ago, we entered into contract with an agency to do the cleaning of our campus. Our two maintenance staff have really worked with that cleaning company to set the expectation as to what the cleanliness should be here in this building, as well as the administrative side of the sheriff's office. And the feedback and the work just has not met the standard that we need here. So the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee, we sat down and we talked about this, and we heard from both Kyle and Ken as to what was going on. And the decision was made to terminate the contract with that company, and then to enter into a contract with a new company, Chris Etc. Chris Etc. is a local individual. Some of you may know her here in Benzie County. And while she does have a higher monthly cost, there was the benefit outweighing that is she is local. We know who she is. Her staff is committed to her. She has a great track record within the community. And so this is where we're leading ourselves to. There were other RFPs within there. And at the end of the day, they were not local again, which is kind of the issues we were having with the current cleaning staff, is they weren't local. So there wasn't that checks and balances to ensure that the things were getting done that we needed to get done. Chris also was able to come down $1,000 a month from her initial proposal through conversation and negotiation. So she did come down on her price quite a bit, which I thought was really gracious, as well as locking in that price for up to 3 years. And so the proposal in front of you today, the recommendation in front of you today from the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee is to move forward with Chris Etc. She's willing to start almost immediately. So she's been really gracious in the sense of working with us. I will say we have had conversations a couple of times at the subcommittee meeting about when is the tipping point to bring staff on board versus contracting. This is going to be, quite a bit of money, but we're still not at that point where we feel comfortable bringing on staff. At the end of the day, we'd need more than one staff person to account for vacations and time off and things like that. And so we're just not quite there yet on this, bringing in staff for this service at this point. We're going to continue to work with a contracted agency, but we're not taking it off the table. We do recognize that here in the near future, we're probably going to have to consider additional staff to perform these services versus contracting with an agency. But at this point, we believe that's the best way to move forward. Did I miss anything?
No.
Okay.
So I'll read it, that the Board of Commissioners accept the proposal and authorize an agreement with Chris Etc., Chris Tisch, for cleaning, that wrong too, for cleaning services of the campus in the not to exceed amount of $8,233.33 per month for a period of 3 years as recommended by the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee. Such agreement subject to its form by legal counsel and authorizes the chair to sign with funds available in the general EMS, ALS, and central dispatch funds.
Is there support for that?
I'll support. Go Lots.
Thank you, Bob. Questions or comments?
I have one.
Yes.
So if I recall correctly, our last cleaning service, they were the lowest. They were the lowest bid.
Correct.
And they were like an hour away, correct?
Yeah, so the
Correct.
owner of that
Okay.
company was in Tustin. They worked really hard to try to find local folks to fill the positions. They weren't able to keep staff, so then there was turnover. There wasn't always a superior in the agency there to teach. I know Ken and Kyle tried to teach these folks on like how to do the cleaning in some instances. And so it just wasn't a great situation.
And so what we're doing is we're saying, yep, local makes a whole lot of sense for us. And we are willing to pay that extra bit. And I agree with that too.
It was hard. It was a
Yeah.
hard decision because there are lower bids in the
Yep.
packet, but these companies are not from around here. They're hours away, and essentially they would be fishing for staff who they weren't familiar with to send into our buildings. And it didn't go well the last time. And I was swayed that this company would do a better job. And the fact that her turnover in staff is very low and she works with them. And being local, it swayed my opinion.
Are there any aspects of the building that can be cleaned during the day?
So we're going to try to work through some of that. The cleaning staff does come during the business hours of the sheriff's office specifically already. We would like to see some of that happen during the day as we can. But the trouble is we have a lot of staff here. And so there is elements that could be done during the day, just not everything.
I totally understand that, but just from the visualization of
Yeah.
out and about, there are some places you go that there's somebody cleaning the bathrooms or cleaning this or that. If this room's not being used, clean the darn thing.
Well, and Benzie used to have on-site staff years ago, and I've heard rave reviews about those staff from various veteran employees about, yeah, they cleaned around them essentially, and they restocked things and, those sorts of things. So we used to do that. And so now we've moved to this contracted situation where, from my understanding, they were always told to come outside of the working
I
hours.
understand.
So we are trying to kind of move that over, though. They already do, like I said, for the sheriff's office, come during their business hours. So we're constantly looking at it and monitoring it and talking about it and what makes sense for Benzie County.
Other questions or comments? And I just want to say for the viewing public remotely or on site, we have a Buildings and Grounds Committee.
Correct.
That vets a lot of these things, that probably spend hours talking about it, I would guess, and interviewing people. So when it appears as if decisions are being made for financial purposes in this room with some brevity, that's because they've been looked at so thoroughly before it got here.
Correct.
I do want to add too, if I may, that this is one of those contracts where it's very easy to assess whether the work is being done and done well. I mean, our staff gives great feedback. Ken and Kyle are on the job, and they know what's happening, and all of our buildings are cameraed. So it's easy to know. And I'm hoping this will be an excellent company to work with.
All right, if there's no other questions or comments, roll call, please.
Janai,
Yes.
Markey,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloff.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, we're at 10:36. We're moving to commissioner reports. Does anybody need a break before we do that?
11.
I have 11:36.
Is that what I said?
No.
Yeah.
But we'll adjust it.
Does anybody need a break? Oh, great. Dave, if we could start with you, please.
All right. Last night had the Inland Township meeting. They are getting a new fire truck. And just still working through getting all their books balanced or whatever. They upped their amount for bringing in Maynard Costerison to help them consolidate. They had just a lot of funds that really could be consolidated to bring their budget under 30 pages. And then Thompsonville meeting. Not too much going on there. Still working on their water meters. Have those ordered. And they're trying to get their truck back from the repair shop so that they can do the grading so that the brine can get put down. I don't have a timeline on that yet.
Anything else, Dave? Questions or comments for Dave? On or off his report? All right, Tim?
Buildings and grounds, we talked most of that, but we also have a poison ivy issue at Zeta Park. And we're gonna be doing some, Kyle's gonna be working on some landscaping and tree removal. I did the accounts payables, Village of Honor, their new playground equipment is in the process of being installed. It's being installed by the village president and their maintenance guy, so it's not going up as quick as he would like, but they're getting through it. The village is also working on their dark skies project. The utility company that provides the streetlights, consumers, I think, said they could turn off some of the lights for no cost. But to turn them back on, they would have physically then remove them. To turn them back on, they would require a new project and an engineer to come out and do a study, and so there's cost to that. So you turn it off, great, turn it back on, it's gonna cost you. Interesting note, the village's bill for their streetlights is currently $17 a month. This, so they're like,
Don't tell anybody.
they're like doing the, do we turn them off? And then turn them back on? Those are about the meetings I attended. I want to talk a little bit about, and I've been forwarding emails to the entire board about, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services bid out for the regions for the community mental health. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services did submit the RFP, they published an RFP, so they're moving forward with that. And Chip Johnston, the CEO of Central Wellness Network, RCMH, did a pretty in-depth review of that RFP. And I forwarded that out to everybody. Real good reading, late night reading for you guys. I'm sure you guys were hanging on every single word of that document. It's concerning that the state is willing to go do that, where clearly some people that's been in this industry for quite some time sees a lot of legal issue that the state is going to be violating a lot of law. I have reached out to most of our legislators, make sure that they're aware of that. I've been in contact, CCing you on those, Rhonda, whether you want me to or not. And I am trying to set up the meetings with some of them, not all of them. Senator, House Rep Roth is very on board with this. And I do want to get with Coffea and Olmsted and make sure that they're aware of that. I do know Chip Johnson's had some in-depth conversations with Kirk Vanderwall, and I guess Kurt's going to be trying to help with legislators to maybe shut this down before it gets that.
Good update. Anything else, Tim?
That's it.
Questions for Tim? Hearing none, Bob?
Sure. Recently, about a week ago, I believe, there was a check presented to the Benzie County Veterans Affairs on behalf of the LA 5K, the Eric Florup Memorial 5K Run. The check was for $6,300. That'll go into a already fund set up separate from the Soldier Sailors Relief money to be used for isolated activities. Attended Area Agency on Aging. They're busy. They don't have enough staff. It's nonstop in the healthcare industry. So they're doing the best they can, but looking for individuals continuously. I've been invited through the Veterans Affairs community, as well as Benzie County Veterans Affairs, to put a float in the Honor Coho Festival. I put together one last year, and I'll be doing the same thing this year. I have the date written down someplace. You can Google it.
August 23rd.
Thank you. I did attend the Grand Traverse Band 2% Grant Awards. Benzie County Veterans Affairs received a grant in the amount of $30,000. Katie, you'll have to help me out on what that was to help support with honor flight activities.
Yes.
Right.
Mid-Michigan Honor Flight was $30,000. The county was the recipient of $10,000 and Bacon was the recipient of $15,000.
Yep. Yeah, very, very helpful, and supportive. That'll do, Bono.
Questions for Bob? Right.
I did have a question. I'm sorry, I missed what you were doing at the Coho Festival.
Float
Oh, float. Very
for
nice.
Veterans Affairs.
Rhonda?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I attended agenda review and accounts payable approval. Commissioner Markey has covered buildings and grounds, and we've touched on that pretty well today. I attended the Centra Wellness Executive Committee meeting. the only topic is this PIHP bid out. The state, released that document. I am going to cover, at the risk of boring you all and taking time, I do want this on the record. There has been an analysis of this RFP and there have been 10 points made about problems with it. If you would indulge me, I would like to read the 10 points quickly. It's an unlawful privatization of a governmental function, a contradiction of statutory governance requirements. There's improper application and weakening of public transparency laws. There's interference with the statutory recipient rights system. It's a contradiction of stated goals by increasing bureaucracy. There's a potential violation of Michigan's Headley Amendment. The RFP violation of Medicaid waiver agreements with the CMS. The MDHHS survey results were omitted. The RFP treats governmental entities differently, and the co-employment principal agent, there are co-employment principal agent violations. This RFP has been deeply analyzed very quickly, and the problems that have emerged and have been identified are deeply concerning. We'll keep you posted on what happens at Central Wellness, but the impact of this RFP, should it not be prevented through some sort of rural exemption for Northern Michigan, is going to have deep consequences
For the county.
for the county. And also at that meeting, Chip Johnston has shared a letter that he sent to Governor Whitmer and is just trying in his capacity to be heard about the impact this will have.
So Rhonda, I think you may have more to report on, but before we leave that portion of it,
Sure.
is there who's got the legal counsel working on behalf of the agencies or associations? Who's contracted with legal counsel? Who's paying that bill in order to fight against it?
Central Wellness and in the region. I believe the region.
There's, if you don't mind.
Yes, no.
My understanding is that the region and our Central Wellness and several other CMHs within the region are contracting legal counsel. This may turn into a much larger, there's several other regions and CMHs that are also wanting to get on, like all of the Upper Peninsula is included as well, my understanding. There's some regions in the Southern Michigan that are probably looking to get on this legal challenge to this RFP as well.
Okay.
And the effort, just to be clear, is bifold. It's trying to prevent this from happening through use of legal means is going to be pursued. And then what do we do if this does happen? I think is being explored as well. And that's where the rural exemption with the UP enters the conversation. So depending on the result of one, the other will need to be addressed. So it's being looked at from different angles.
Yeah, I appreciate that report. It might be helpful as talking points for the commissioners if you would be willing to put an email out listing those 10 points.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Tim's done a good job of keeping us informed. Sometimes it's a little overwhelming, a lot of
Those 10
legalese.
points are right from that document.
Yeah, it's right from.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, but I wanted to get it, I wanted it to be read. So we received it in email and it's hard for the public, the community to know that this is happening. I mean, to know that this RFP actually came out, I think there was a point where we wondered if it was actually going to happen, and it is.
Should we then take that report and make that part of correspondence with a permanent package?
Sure.
Tammy, if we could do that, please.
Okay,
Someone will have to forward that.
I'll forward it. If you don't.
Yeah.
Some of the concerning part is that it's bureaucrats that are doing this. The legislation has been completely left out of it. So that's part of the problem, right?
Yep, that's a great update. Thanks, guys. What else do you have, Rhonda?
I attended the Village of Benzonia. They have been cleared by MDOT to put up pedestrian crossing road signs. These are the little people that they put on the median. There's going to be 8 of them at the top of the hill in the middle of the road by the roadhouse in an attempt to slow down the traffic as people are crossing from the post office to get to the roadhouse or the coffee place. They're also, the village was informed, they're looking at a flashing light or another traffic light at Travers Ave and 31. The first study has been done and it has moved to a second phase. There was discussion at that meeting and one idea was shared, I believe it was Sarah Kirk who shared the idea of a loading drop-off zone in place of 2 spots in front of the roadhouse, if that could have an impact, and they may talk about that again at a later date. The Planning Commission of the Village of Benzonia is creating park rules and they have people camping in their park, Academy Park up there, and they want to get some rules in place to prevent that. Because the Village of Benzonia is redevelopment ready, it's a redevelopment ready community per the EDC, the MEDC. They were eligible to make applications for the Match on Main grant, and 2 businesses in Benzonia were awarded grants. Victoria's Flower Shop was awarded a $25,000 grant, matching grant, and Mills Community House $14,000. During that meeting, they approved a zoning change for property behind Tractor Supply from an R1 to an R2 zoning to allow for broader use. Apparently, there is a developer interested in putting in 4 types of homes. I'm not sure if they're manufactured or whatever. The site plan would need to be approved by the village council to do that. And then I did not attend, but I listened in on the allocation committee meeting, tax allocation committee meeting. I believe our chair did as well. Are those recorded, Katie? Okay. I would urge all of the commissioners to be listening to these meetings. The purpose of these meetings is to form a recommendation that will come to us in the future. And the things that they talk about are important, the ideas that they're developing. And I also want to make it clear that we are not shirking our responsibility to try and address this. This is required by statute that this committee take up this issue. So for us to be informed about what they're doing and how they're arriving at the recommendation they're going to make, it's important for us to understand how they got there. That's all I'll say.
It's on our Benzie County YouTube channel.
Right.
We're over 100 subscribers, so we're almost viral.
Because it's been brought out, and I'm glad that you did. I would, if you have limited amount of time, focus on the last meeting. It's a little under 60 minutes. But there was a lot of good dialogue. Have I said in early meetings, I'm impressed at the quality of work that they're doing, the thoughtfulness that's going into all of this.
That's all I have. Thank you.
We also scheduled additional meetings, so I'll get those published for folks.
Saw that.
as
I
well.
believe your next one's September 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Is that gonna, they'd asked that that be the last meeting?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like they will be coming to us with some kind of recommendation for the end of the year, so.
I would anticipate that too. Yep.
Christie?
Sure. So I went to the Benzie Leelanau District Health Department Board meeting, and Dan and Michelle talked about how they went to the Benzie Human Services Collaborative Legislative Summit, focusing on school wellness programs and public health funding for essential services. One of the big things that Dan is focusing on is not siloing money as well. The Benzie remodel is finishing up. Gary and I took a tour. It looks very nice. Health department is looking at staffing cuts, and not staffing cuts, excuse me, budget cuts. But they're still out there doing their jobs. The one thing that is statewide vaccination rates are too low to prevent highly contagious preventable diseases. So again, talk to your healthcare provider about vaccinations and ensure you're up to date. Our funding, again, locally, our funding is in jeopardy, which can affect hundreds of Benzie and Leelanau County children. So that is our school aid, children and adolescent health centers, medical health. So what happens right now is what the health department does is they collaborate with schools so that the kids don't have to leave the schools to get, medical, certain medical attention, certain, health, not health, mental health, items so that kids can stay in schools, parents can stay at work, and it's this kind of holistic, preventative approach. Well, that is in jeopardy. The land use requests have increased by 2%. And again, Benzie is seeing the highest request rate. We did get their current staff reductions are actually due to attrition, which means that they don't refill positions as they're vacated. And so they're, due to attrition, they're saving $370,000. However, the budget has been cut $677,000. So just about half of that is still currently underfunded. Also went to the Lake Township meeting. They talked about their travel policy. They talked about specifically Benzie County's travel policy and what we do for breakfast, lunches, and dinners. And they have actually raised theirs slightly above ours. So I don't know if that's something that we want to look at too. Let's see. They're also working with a contractor to update their website, and they're seeing some frustration that their website is more or less with the new switchover is more or less the same as what they have. And one of the public commenters is like, well, you have to be super specific with your contractors, because if you don't tell them exactly what you've got, they're going to give you exactly what you had before, or they're going to wander in the dark. So anyway, I thought that was pretty good. Their planning commission meeting, I think we saw this in the paper that they had so many folks in their building. Well, they reached out and they found out that they're only allowed 50 people in their building. That's their, they reached out to Chief Cedarholm, and he's like, 50 people. Well, they overexceeded that. So what they're going to do is they're going to pull out the trucks of the barn, and they're going to have the planning commission in there so that they can have enough people. And then they're looking into getting a sound system, because that was another thing, is that nobody could hear anything. One thing, and one of the public comments is someone suggested connecting with the road commission on debris ordinance. They suggested that apparently the road commission has a spot for debris, and they were thinking that maybe connecting with the road commission, and maybe there could be a spot in the road commission spot for debris for Lake Township. I don't know, but I thought that was interesting. Let's see, Materials Management Committee. So Fishback came in, they talked to us about the recycling survey for county residents and the Transportation Infrastructure Company survey draft. It looked pretty good to us. And so we had somebody from Eagle and we had somebody from Fishback, and Fishback is saying, well, Eagle isn't talking to us and isn't giving us data. And Eagle's like, well, we have confidentiality around our reporting and we can't give data, da, da, da. And so again, it was Dave who was like, okay, our region is pretty good at getting this data. We've got this data. So Fishback, why don't you come with us, and we will share that data, and we'll have all that. So again, it was really well done there. Learned a lot about reporting. Let's see. One thing that Eagle made mention to our group is that we don't have a lot of time built in after data collection doing goal setting. And so one of the things that staff came back with is, right, but our plan is just a draft plan, and it will have to go through a whole lot of being looked at and revisions and whatnot. And they think that that is still sufficient for what they had. But again, Eagle suggested more time for goal setting. And so the committee we are looking at some other things where we need to look more into composting, because it seems like that's a direction we're going. And so we're going to have somebody come in and talk about anaerobic versus aerobic and in-vessel composting. So that's what's going on there.
Good
Maybe
report.
more than you wanted to know, but
Nope, you did good.
okay.
Any questions? If not, Gary?
Yeah, I'll add a little bit to the health department,
Sure.
not much. The hearing and vision part, which is mandated by the state, I always thought was a function of the health department, function of the school. They're talking about giving the money to the schools and have them, they don't have to use the health department. My concern is if you give them money, will it be used for that? And how do you follow up on that? At least before, with the health department, you had some sort of records and that this was getting done. And this is to help the, you know, the preschool or younger kids find if they do have an issue and try to correct it before it gets out of hand. I'm a little confused on that one. Also was at Parks and Rec. Not a whole lot going on there. I think they've extended the survey for a couple of weeks or something, if I remember correctly, but it should be over here shortly. The tribal awards, thanks everybody for going. At least Benzie County was well represented. That was very important to me. I think the one thing that sticks out, and I've been saying it everywhere, is Grand Traverse County receives over 40-some% of the funding. They had no representation whatsoever, which is, that's up to them. Betsy Valley Trail approved a wedding venue. And we approved 2 more events. And it looks like we figured out how to spend the $15,000. We also discussed possibly asking for money from the county eventually. And that might be when we get to a project that we might need some more funding, like the paving projects. I can't remember. The Friends got a preliminary grant for the amount, huge. But basically the preliminary part was, can you come up with the match money? So maybe in the future we will ask. Right now, there's no reason to. Joyfield. They're still discussing trash day. They're trying to figure out who's gonna pay for it, how it's gonna get paid for. Give them credit there. Blaine, they had their annual picnic this weekend. Benzie Bus. They approved, man, I always have to have Dave. A contract with them to review their policies and stuff. That was approved. Also working on the executive director's contract. And they approved the budget for next year. They also asked for the maximum out of the 4029. So hopefully we will know something next year. And anticipated they would ask for higher amount. Because they did have pretty good fund balance. Of course, we've had a bus accident. Gonna have to replace a bus. And
So is that normal for them not to go to the maximum? Is this something?
the only
like,
reason I even bring it up is
Okay.
because the county doubled the amount that they usually, used to be a $500,000, now it's a full $1 million. And I always look at accepting tax money as a responsibility. You need it, that's one thing. If you don't need it, they don't want you to build up a fund balance because you can. I want you to be respectful and responsible to the people that pay the taxes. And so I always look at that. I look at that at the townships. I have one townships that only assess 0.5. I'm sure a majority of the townships assess the whole amount. They look at their fund balance. I kind of question that. There's a couple of them out there that do pretty well. And there's also a couple of townships, even if they assess the maximum, they're barely getting by. So it's just one of those things, the way I was brought up, you be responsible when you start accepting money. Responsible to the people that pay it. Just wanted to throw that out there at the Village of Thompsonville last night. Very short meeting. They did really well. So that's about all I have. Thank you.
Questions or comments for Gary? Just for clarification, on the maximum assessment, that is within the villages, the townships and authorities, as their exclusive decision. We have no influence over that at all. But can you elaborate? You said they can use the 15,000, this is under your Parks and Rec report. Yeah, they'll find a way to use the $15,000. I'm paraphrasing you. But I don't, what are you talking about, $15,000?
We get $15,000 from the DNR to run the management council.
Okay.
And it's for maintenance. They'd like to buy a couple more tools and stuff like that, but there's some asphalt issues. Remember what they call this, where they heat it up and basically able to smooth out, like if you get a pothole or something.
Hot patching of some sort.
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
like
a
a hot
different-
patch, crack seal,
Yeah,
something of that.
anyway. That was about $16,000 to patch some of the bad spots, so obviously we're gonna have it spent.
Okay.
And the Friends are willing to help. Or we don't have, so.
Did you say you all approved a wedding venue too? People are gonna get married on the trail?
Not on the trail, it's on the beach by the trail, but we have to
It's the
prove
Clipra.
the access who's in the Clipra.
Oh, okay.
Just for those who are in attendance, Gary, I wanted to make sure that we explained what that 15,000 was about. It's not really coming from us. They have a different funding source for it, et cetera. Anything else, Gary?
Nope.
So you have my report in advance. The only, and I'll entertain questions on it, but just two things I'm gonna add is on August 11th, we should have all received a email from the what looks like from the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians. I did call them because I was suspicious about the email. And I didn't want to just reply. So for your benefits, and Christie, I see that you reached out to them also. I did respond on our behalf, but I was uncomfortable just hitting reply.
It was legitimate or?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Did you say that would be interested in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And Christie echoed the same thing for us. And as we've been sitting here, Gary, I'm going to ask you to take the first meeting in September for the road commission. All right, and then we'll get the schedule out. And then you can share with them what this conversation was about. And at that point, maybe Katie will have the list of you of who's gonna be rotating. Otherwise, I'll just open up any questions you might have for me. If not, let's move into the admin report.
Sure. So all of you should have received an email from MAC. I signed everyone up for their conference except for you because yours is already taken care of. So you should have received an email that you're signed up for that. I don't intend to book you a hotel because it's just across town. I've just signed you up for the conference. So looking forward to it. It will be really cool to have the entire board at the conference. So good news there. I just want to note to everybody that we do have various committees that are open right now. If anyone would like to serve on any volunteer committee, some of them you are paid a small per diem. Veterans Affairs, the Maples, the Leelanau Benzie Health Department Board of Appeals, Benzie Transportation Authority. They're all located on our website, as well as we do have various job openings out on the website as well. So please share the word that we're not only recruiting for volunteers for committees, we're also recruiting for employer paid positions, and then also volunteers for the animal control. We do have 3 really solid volunteers up there that really work together to make up a schedule, but we could always use more volunteers for the animal shelter. The cats tend to be neglected, not in the sense of neglect, but everyone walks the dogs, but not a lot of people will just hang in the cats and pet the cats. So if anyone would like to come pet cat, but those kitties want some love. So just always looking for volunteers to help us out.
Katie, before you leave that subject, if I could, for the benefit of the public and the commissioners, at our next meeting, we will be we'll be putting together the interview committees for those agencies that now have applications in for volunteers. So know that that's coming, and we'll do that at the next meeting.
Great. And then I wanted to touch base on broadband a little bit. I have invited Tim Malone to come to the next meeting to give an update as to where things are at broadband, specifically in Benzie County, as well as to talk about this whole BEAD funding. BEAD is now Bob. BEAD and Bob are now all broadband funding. They keep adding acronyms at the federal level. Bob is benefit of the bargain. BEAD is broadband equity and inclusion and all the things. So we talked about before that there's, the BEAD funding, and that Cherry Capital Communication was one of two applicants who were kind of given a little bit of a go-ahead when it came to the BEAD funding. We had met certain requirements that we didn't have to go back to the drawing board. So that was really, really great. But now that the BEAD funding has become the Bob funding, it has expanded the use of those dollars for broadband connection and internet connection specifically in the community. So Cherry Capital Communication has went back and expanded their application for funding, because now it's BEAD Bob and not just BEAD. And so they've expanded their application for funding, which would impact 955 unserved and underserved households in Benzie County, among many of our townships. But then it also passes an additional 2,200 households within Benzie County. So just really strengthening the connection within Benzie County. With the BEAD funding, we were looking at, over 95% connected within the county. This gets us closer to the 100%, but it also does some overbuilding, which at the end of the day was the intention, after all, was to overbuild in the sense of creating this internet for all, this open access network. So with the BEAD Bob funding, if it's approved, it's going to expand what is connected within the county, but it's also going to cross many more households, which is then with that open access fiber line. So then that open access fiber line can be used by many different ISPs, which is then the whole intention of driving down costs. It gives the customer choice and hopefully driving down the cost of what it costs to connect to the internet in Benzie County.
When you say overbuild, you're talking about Company A is a proprietary, they're here.
Yep.
And Cherry Capital's going to come in and build in their area too?
Potentially, yes. But it would be with an open access line. So then other folks could utilize that. So you have the untouchable fiber, and then we'd have the touchable fiber within the same area. So the application has been expanded. It's now BEAD Bob, and we've expanded the locations that we're applying funding for. The other thing about the BEAD Bob funding, though, that is a little bit of a disappointment is now, because it's been reconfigured into this BEAD Bob funding, and it allows for connection to internet via cable, wireless, and satellite, not just fiber. It also extends the time period. And so now we're looking at, they're pushing out these connection rates out to 2036. And so that is the unfortunate side of this, is now that timeline is longer when you're talking to folks about, hey, when am I going to be connected? It's not 2028 anymore. It's, not 2030, it's 2036. Cherry Capital, though, is committed to not taking all of that time. They've been committed. They've been doing a great job in expanding in Benzie County and meeting timelines and exceeding timelines. But that is one of the drawbacks of this, is it does extend those timelines for connections out to 2036. So that's kind of it as far as broadband goes. But I did invite Tim to come to the next meeting to give a more comprehensive update to you, just because he hasn't been here in a while. Outside of that, the tribal meeting, would you like me to coordinate scheduling a meeting, or are you going to take care of that?
No, I made the initial contact to give you some relief.
Okay.
But no, if you can pick it up from here, that'd be great.
Okay, I can do that. And then is the intention to hold like a joint public meeting, or just kind of a meet and greet, or work that out with them?
Could we discuss that among Rhonda, you and I?
We can do that.
Are you okay with that?
The only other thing is Leslie Bilby will start on Monday, the 18th. So we're really excited to have her. And also Carissa Pike is coming down to administration, and she will start on September 2nd within our office. Outside of that, things are plugging along. Yes, I'm behind on some things, so I apologize, but I am doing my best to catch up.
Katie, not to worry. You're putting in a yeoman's effort to keep things moving along and keep it transparent to us. So no worries here, okay? Questions or comments for Katie?
I had two. Since we changed our title to deputy administrator from HR person, the staff understands that questions about our questions concerning HR or benefits administration should go to Leslie now. Is that correct?
I haven't officially communicated all of that with the staff yet, but I will tomorrow during our staff meeting. We'll kind of talk about what that position means. And that, yes, Leslie will be, HR also, but also finance. And then I'll be still playing a pretty tight role in that for a while until things are brought up to speed too. So it'll kind of be a dual approach for a little while, but then gradually just move to Leslie.
And then my other question was dollars and effort that went into getting high scores and do well on the beads grant. Did we lose money now that it's changed to beads, Bob?
I don't
I
think
mean,
so.
as far as, I think we had diverse, digital, what was the digital?
The mitten stuff, the digital equity, digital inclusion.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have not spent any additional dollars with Mitch Shapiro or with Cherry Capital for them to expand their application to Bead Bob. So they have done that on their own accord. We have not spent additional dollars to do that specifically. The data that we collected and utilized for the challenge process and all of those things, that was still went into the thought process of expanding that application because we did identify underserved and unserved locations. So we did have that data, so it was still utilized in the expansion itself. But Cherry Capital did that application expansion on their own accord without county dollars.
Okay. So no wasted effort or dollars. No, but I wanted to know.
Yeah, we're still keeping with the bead side of things. That part of the application essentially stayed the same. We've just expanded it and now we're looking at other locations that couldn't have been covered by fiber. But now we're looking at, okay, maybe they can be wireless or this whole HEX system that keeps being talked about that I don't fully understand yet. But essentially getting the technology there, whether it's fiber, satellite, or what have you.
Thank you. That's all.
So, Christie, do you have anything for it? Bob?
Nope.
Very good. All right, I've got just a couple of follow-ups for you. EMS Station 3, there was a time that we were hoping the construction would start by the end of July. Can you give us an update on that?
I don't have much of an update on that. Things are moving at a contractor's pace. I don't know where they're at in the process yet. I do know that things are happening on the back end of that, but I don't believe that there's been like a nail hammered or a screw screwed yet.
Do you think that we're in jeopardy of having this thing done by the end of the year?
I've been assured that we're not.
We're not. Okay, good. And there was an email that came through on July 15th from John Ransom regarding the Conservation District's request. I haven't heard anything more about that.
He's coming on the 26th, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that'll be addressed at a later meeting.
Correct.
All right, very good. You have the correspondence in the file for your pleasure in reading and feeling free to reach out to the agencies that provided it. You know, what I'd like to do is open it up to a last public comment.
I would just like to notate that Sean Anchak is here, and because we all have these crazy schedules, I've asked Sean to speak during public comment regarding his report on the opioid funding allocation that was given to the MDOC. Putting a specific time on the calendar was a little hard with schedules, and so Sean is here to give you a nice presentation as to how he was able to utilize the opioid funding to support the services he provides to our community.
Okay, Sean, I'm going to invite you up just in a moment. This young lady to your left raised her hand quickly, so.
Oh, sorry, Jennifer.
Wanted to, I'm Jennifer Savage. I'm the director of the Department of Health and Human Services here, in the building. I just wanted to extend an offer to the Board of Commissioners to be able to do a walkthrough of that building. I'm slated for this afternoon.
I didn't think that was allowed.
To talk about the actual space down there. So if there are any commissioners who wish to do a walkthrough so that they can actually see the physical space in that part of the building, I am here to be able to do that. That was all.
All right, thanks, Jennifer. And you said this afternoon.
Before the next round of meetings or after.
Okay, very good. I will get back to you, Joanne. And we're gonna allow you some extra time, okay?
I don't really need much time unless you have a lot of questions.
Oh.
Right,
So,
only because I have a recovery court meeting in about 9 minutes. Thank you again to the Board of Commissioners for granting the opioid fund grant for the use of Benzie bus passes for probationers out of the Benzie Circuit Court. I was able to secure the first round of passes for this fiscal year, April 15th. And as of today, I've handed out 193 passes to individuals and, you know, to, I guess, put the commissioners at ease. Not everybody specifically is serving for an offense that involves opiates, but I have the opinion of my probation clientele that they have all been touched by this opiate epidemic and by providing this assistance. So, and I may give a pass to an individual, they're not serving for a conviction for opiates specifically, but they might have a history, their family might have a history, friends, other probationers that we're working with. So that's kind of the approach I've taken to these passes. Truthfully, 193 is not a lot considering my first round of grant, but I'm still holding these passes fairly close to my chest, handing them out on a very specific basis. They're not just candy. It's not a grab jar. My individuals ask me for the passes. We review what they're going to use them for, and I give them out in a limited amount. And then if that's working, then they'll come back to me. And I see these passes being used for medical, for employment, for coming to see me. And eventually here in a couple of weeks, it'll be to go to the high school for some of my clients. So very appreciative of this program that you've allowed me to administer here because it's very effective.
Sean, in your closing comments, so I would like to hear that if you were asked the question, do these people qualify for these vouchers because in some way they're touched by the opioid epidemic, you could say with confidence, yes.
Yes.
That's what we need to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joanne?
My name's Joanne Manila, and I'm a Lake Township resident. And while I'm an applicant for a seat on the Benzie Bus Board, I am here as an invested citizen and voter. And I want to say I'm glad to hear that the Oakland seats are going to be addressed at the next meeting for different committees. But I will go ahead and read what I have. Wait. I'm here because, like all of you, I want to ensure that the Benzie bus remains a value add to county residents. I believe this is best accomplished through good governance, as good governance is the foundation of public trust. Benzie County voters have placed a high value on reliable transportation with the recently passed millage. They trust that there will be strong, accountable stewardship of their taxpayer dollars. A fully seated board is essential to that public trust. At present, 2 Benzie Bus Board seats remain vacant. I was not able to attend, but did watch the most recent Board of Commissioners meeting on YouTube. When discussed, the Benzie Bus Board vacancies were not a priority because of changes here at the county office, making things busier than usual, and because the board has a quorum. While the board does technically have a quorum, my direct observations at recent Benzie Bus Board meetings raise concerns about the quality of its governance. Important calendar items, such as the timeline for the contractually mandated review of the executive director, are not being followed. Inaccurate information has been presented as fact during meetings by board members. Instances of open disrespect toward both staff and board members have occurred that do not represent professional standards and undermine healthy discussion and debate. These are matters of process, respect, and accountability. Leaving 2 seats unfilled reduces oversight during a period of increased funding, erodes public confidence in stewardship of taxpayer resources, and limits diversity of perspectives and expertise. The Board of Commissioners is entrusted with ensuring that boards that are responsible for taxpayer funds operate with integrity and in the community's best interest. Filling the vacant Benzie Bus Board seats promptly will strengthen oversight and show a visible commitment to effective governance to the voters who approved the millage. I respectfully urge you to make this a priority. Our community deserves a Benzie Bus Board that is fully equipped to govern responsibly, transparently, and respectfully. Finally, I encourage you all and the public to attend a Benzie Bus Board meeting and to listen to the audio recording of the August meeting. Both will give you great insight. Thank you for your time, and I'll leave this with you.
Thank you. Anybody else? If not, we'll close public comment and I'll look for a motion.
I need to make one comment. And this is only for clarity. When you opened the first public comment, you made the statement as long as it was on the agenda.
For agenda items, that's correct.
Public comment, as far as I understand. It doesn't have to be on the agenda.
We can debate that outside this meeting if you like,
Okay.
because you would not be correct.
That was not on the agenda.
She just made it that the second public comment are for items on and off the agenda. First public comment should always be for items on the agenda. Anything else? Move for adjournment? I so make the motion.
A second.
Right. All those in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed? All right, we'll